What's up? What's up? What's up, Moody?
What's up?
Switching it
What's
up.
up to our viewers and listeners out there?
Yes, all 15 of them.
hmm We
But it's
appreciate y'all. The
it's
grind
growing.
mindset. Yeah, we growing slowly but surely.
Let's get into these Sunday Percies and let's see if I can. I feel like I'm the biggest violator of these Percies for going too long because I'm like, oh yeah, these should be quick, and then all of a sudden it ends up being like a whole diatribe for me to get my shit off my chest. So, um, I'll start off with I'll start off with the somber one.
Okay.
Yesterday we found out in the hip hop world that Violetta Wallace, aka Biggie's mom, the mother of Notorious B.I.G., had passed away at the age of 78. It was announced on her Instagram. I guess through the people that maintain that and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly what the cause was. I think it was just natural causes and just old health. I think she was in hospice near the end of her life. So, I don't think it was anything tragic, more so just like, old of age. But uh, one of the mothers of hip hop next to Afemi Shakur, you know,
hmm
if you anything about this hip hop culture, you don't disrespect any of these women. Neither any mother or any in general in hip hop. But these two are just on the Mount Rushmore of like, hey, it is always going to be love. Don't ever say anything bad about Afemi Shakur or Valletta Wallace. And so it's crazy, I just have to look it up because I'm like, I remember Afemi had passed away a few years ago. She passed away in 2016, but now you got Biggie, Pac, and both their mothers all up in heaven as of yesterday. So rest in peace, Valletta Wallace. You're still a pioneer and the mother, one of the founding mothers of hip hop. So rest in peace,
For
rest in
sure.
paradise.
And its most influential age also. And we ain't tripping over the beef no more. I'm sure they playing spades up there right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I would be doing. You can let the aggression out and it's still fun. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's what they doing up there. If anything, it's just Pac and him going back and forth.
They don't even know what they
Uh
were arguing about.
yeah, right. Mine, I think, is a little bit more uh or less somber. I think it's Philly more than anything because you always got to have these like running news stories of just like incidental drama, basically people making a mountain out of a molehill. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw Court of Gold, but that's the new Netflix doc about the Olympic basketball last year when they
I've
follow
always saw
the
the
final
clip
four
of
teams.
the Serbian team being
hmm
angry about not being able to defend Durant.
Yeah. Apparently, part of that. There's a clip of where former president, our forever president Barack Obama,
Mhm.
is there at practice, and Anthony Edwards is being Anthony Edwards, and Obama asks, he asked LeBron, he was like, "Hey, you've been talking to this young man?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's all right." He's like, "I think he's all right." This is Obama saying that, and he was like, "This is Anthony Edwards." He walks up and he's
This
like,
is
"No,
like a
give the
mic'd up
call."
is this like a mic'd up moment?
Well, yeah, it's in the doc. They're filmed. Yeah.
I'm saying,
So
but
I mean, it's
like I'm sitting down next to like Obama sitting down next to a LeBron in like an interview like moment. It's like
yeah, yeah, it's a mic'd up moment. Yeah, yeah, and that contact. Yeah, yeah,
practice, and then like the camera is like halfway across the gym, and they just are mic'd up type of
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And he's like, "No, you better come." He's like, "No, you came over here and asked me. You said I was all right." He's like, "No, I told you I'm the truth. I'm the truth. Go ahead, tell him, Brian." And it's not even the conversation that There's no tension with that because we know Anthony Edwards is just confident, but he got dragged this week for that because he was being disrespectful to President Obama. And I'm like, bruh, some niggas just don't give a fuck. It's like, Aunt Edwards is like, yo, I'll bring you to the court and bang on you right now. Like, I don't
That's
care.
what
Like,
man,
and
like
and Obama don't got it twisted either. Like, he's the only president where we like, hey, yo, look at our president out there hooping, doing behind the back. So I think Obama know what it is. Like already, obviously, it's not
yeah,
like he messing with
Obama.
him.
First of all, if you're on the court and Anthony, that's basically all of the ball players' house. So like, if you
Right?
gonna come on the court and try to bounce a ball with, I don't care if it's Ant, I don't care if it's LeBron. I don't care who it is. You gonna get talked about. You gonna like, oh, give me that dude. I'm trying to break his ankles. I don't care if he was the former president of the United States. Now, if this was the other way around and like, you at the White House, yeah, okay, and I'm gonna need you to be a little bit more respectful. But Obama's in your house. He came to practice. Like, I'm assuming it was practice, but like he came to y'all practice. If he wanted to step across this line that officially makes it the basketball playing court, there's going to be consequences and repercussions.
Exactly. So I just thought it was
Chicago,
funny
my guy. You know better.
Yeah, straight up. But yeah, that was just my Sunday Percy. Just dumb people getting upset about. Oh no, it's a doc. It's just one.
It's just one
doc.
Thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
That's interesting. Does it go all the way up to like them winning the championship? Because all I've seen was the Serbia clip.
Yeah, I haven't finished it. I caught the clips of them also that are going viral, so I'm definitely gonna give it a watch. So.
Okay. Yeah, I heard them talk about it on Basketball Illuminati on the Do You Believe episodes.
Yeah.
Does Amin sing that? Do you know if Amin sings that? Because it sounds like it's Amin.
It does sound like him. That shit is a funny ass intro every single time. When I see 37 minutes and I realize it's a short episode, I already know it's coming.
All right. Final Percy for me. This one I was surprised not surprised because obviously I knew when this movie came out, but I didn't think time had flown by that quickly, but apparently it did. February 17th, 1995 was the release of a classic Disney film that doesn't get much regards unless you really know about it. And that's today we are now at a few days ago, we are at the 30th anniversary of Disney classic Heavyweights. This popped up on my Twitter feed because Ben Stiller was giving a shout out for it because obviously he was Tony Perkins in that film. If you have seen Heavyweights, and he said, somehow I don't think this would be at the head of Disney Plus Q ever. In fact, I'm not sure they're even aware that they made it. But that was an incredible fun summer in North Carolina 30 years ago. #Heavyweights. And then Kenan Thompson also wrote, because he was also in that movie, because he was just like the ultimate black kid in Disney films.
Yeah.
Like if Orlando Brown is on like Family Matters and like all some of these Disney Channel shows, Kenan Thompson, man, dude gave us the knuckle puck.
Oh yeah, no, the knuckle puck is iconic for sure.
Dude helped us win a gold in the Mighty Ducks 2. He was in Heavyweights. Went on to all that. Did Kenan and Kel, and then the same week just was part of the celebration for SNL 50, which he's been on for like 20 years, which is crazy. So
yeah.
But yeah, Kenan wrote, the history books will say this squad instilled a level of fear not yet known to man, and certainly not to Ben Stiller. 30 years of Heavyweights, and it still feels like yesterday I was packing up for camp. What a time. I'm just glad that like even like as big as Ben Stiller and Kenan Thompson have gotten throughout their careers, they still look back onto this movie as just like, man, not only a great movie, but we had a fun time making this movie. This is also Judd Apatow's first movie as well, being a director. So shout out to Heavyweights, all-time classic. I quote it so many times in many, many various ways. I'm just glad that, it still holds a part, not of just to the fans, but also to, the cast and the crew that were a part of making that film. So shout out to Heavyweights, 30th anniversary.
Well, yeah, definitely endears them to our generation of childhood, right? So it's like, this is probably one of the most common movies that Ben Stiller gets talked to about by 35 to 38-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole lot of that. And yeah, definitely iconic film. Killing the Blob was absolutely treacherous.
Everybody wanted to get on the Blob, bro. As soon as he was like, yo, that's dope.
Yeah. And that's partially part of the reason I wanted to go to camp. And our camp had I went 1 year only, and we had a Blob. And of course, I was like, gotta get on. I can't even swim. And I was like, I gotta get on that bitch. So sure enough, it was fun as hell. And last thing I wanted to point out, forget, Tony Perkins, was that his name in this? I don't know if that's
Tony
him
Perkins.
in this. See, it's funny because I remember Tony Perkins, his name.
Yeah.
Tony Perkins walked, so Global Gym could run. That guy
Yeah.
from Dodgeball.
They're
They're
the same person, not the same actor, because obviously they're the same
He's the
actor.
same,
But they're basically if they're not like blood brothers, they're definitely like cousins. Like they're related. They're in the same bloodline.
I was actually no. This might be the same guy, because if we remember, because I feel like in the end of Heavyweights, because he gets fired and all that stuff, and he gets depressed and he gets fat at the end.
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
What is he in? He's in Global Gym.
Yeah.
So it's like he recovers himself.
It might be Tony Perkins, and he just went through a name change.
Hey, we just put that together. I just put that together in my head.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dodgeball is fucking great show, great movie as well. So shout out to Ben Stiller, putting out some amazing stuff even till this day with Severance, which we got once we get off pod. I don't know if you've caught up.
No, you're gonna be mad. Hey, you gotta hold on.
Are you still 2 episodes? Are you haven't watched 5 or 6? Oh my god. Yeah. Or 4? Oh man. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. But that's it for me. Also, one of the last thing about heavyweights, I love the like the German counselor that was just like always screaming, buddy. I'm like, that shit's hilarious to me. But yeah, that's enough about heavyweights. Shout out to heavyweights. I think I might watch it later this week. But let's start the show. You got anything else? Are we ready to start?
No, let's go.
All right.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
To the crowd, it's the Habasha Hayes Sampson. You're my tag team partner.
The French fried Fro Moody coming off the top rope. And this is the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast.
A weekly stroll through the avenue of wrestling.
Give us all the social engagements. Like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on our socials. Twitch. Send us an email. Everything at the Wrestling Re-Up. No hyphen.
And we are back for episode 33. 33 consecutive weeks. We quickly were trying to figure out, like, do we have someone that's 33 that we can come off top before we started this pod? And then we did a quick Google search. It's like, oh yeah, there's a whole rack of 33s we can call. On my side, I'm going to say Sammy Ball, Commanders legend, or Washington football legend, because he never played for the Commanders, technically, if you want to get technical. We said Kareem. Scotty was Bird in there. Larry Bird. Was Jim Brown 33?
I'm not quite sure.
Jim Brown was 33. Maybe he was 32, but I'm slacking. But yes, episode 33 of the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast, where we go through the week of wrestling, starting with, Monday Night Raw all the way down to the pop-up shows. But this week, we got to do some reviews first from last week, because we had 2 pop-up shows. We had AEW Grandslam in Australia, and we had NXT Vengeance Day, which took place in Washington, D.C., and we got to go there and be there in person. I'm going to leave it up to you, Moody. What do you want to start off first? Grandslam or Vengeance Day?
Yeah, for the sake of, our records, it's not like the records actually matter at this point since I'm so far ahead, but yeah, let's start with the one that doesn't matter. We'll start with Grand Slam.
Okay, let's start off with Grand Slam. So we ended up catching this because it was right after All-Star Saturday night weekend. And so this came on right afterwards. You told me before we recorded or during our recording last week that this was pre-taped. So once we got off the pod, we immediately looked up what the outcomes were, and we tied. We pretty much had the same card going through. We pretty much had the same predictions throughout the entire match. The only thing we got wrong was the Brisbane Brawl. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts on AEW Grand Slam in Australia?
Not to continuously glaze, but the only thing that actually matters is Timeless becoming the first 4-time women's champion. There's a segment, going to cover that a little bit later when she has her promo when we get to the coffee shop. But that match was amazing. I loved, them getting to not even to like, it really felt like as I was watching it, first off, them actually having the main event, because what else on this card was actually going to go above them, right? So treating the women like main eventers because they are, and letting them put on like a 25-minute, going into overtime, it felt like we need to look up the actual time for that match. But I remember when they get to like the third act or the finish, as I was mentioning,
15 minutes.
15? It felt like longer.
10. Yeah.
It felt like longer, but I guess maybe it was just due to the action that was there.
It was the second longest match of the night. The first longest was the Will Ospreay Kenny match versus Don Callis family. That was 23. That was about 24 minutes.
And then again, when I think about the story of the match, thinking about it now, Tony was dominant in this match also. Like, Mariah didn't get a whole lot of offense in. So for her to, they start spamming finishers on each other near the end, and they're like, oh, shit, this can go either other way. And then it comes down to a roll-up. I'm like, oh, love it. Love it. And she mentions that in the promo later on, which is why it's primo, but I'm going to hold off on that. But beating Mariah with the small package, 4-time women's champion, best thing on the show.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you on that. It was a great match. I think even with, there could have been ways that this played out, but again, like we asked this before the show started. It's like, does AEW run with WWE rules where you got to lose in your hometown? And it's like, okay, right. You had Harley Cameron on the card. You had Buddy Matthews. Australia was already 0-2 coming into, that. Someone from Australia had to win, and so shout out to Tony. Shout out for Tony for basically doubling it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like one title match, especially the main event for the women's championship, that's like a 2-point. That's like a 3-pointer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not saying that counts as 3, but I say it gets it back to if they were 0-2, that counts as 2. I would almost feel like it. So you're kind of at 500 at that. I'll say other things that stood out to me. The Okada Buddy Matthews match was dope. I really enjoyed that. Mercedes Moné and Harley Cameron was also good as well. So, none too surprising as far as outcomes. Like everything, the only thing that we got wrong was Jay White and Cope. We said that they were going to beat John Moxley and Claudio, but that didn't happen. But nonetheless, none too crazy from AEW Grand Slam, but it was still a fun show, and I'm glad that it went off successfully.
Yeah, craziest spot though, like the finish of Kenny and Ospreay versus Don Callis family when it's they finish Kyle Fletcher with a freaking hidden blade, one-winged angel combination, jumping off the top rope, both specials at once, and I'm like, that just worked. Like, you're not kicking out of that. So it's like, you understand it's a convoluted, like, double finisher, but I fucking like it, man. So I was like, if they keep doing that, like, nobody should ever kick out of that, as protected as both of those moves are. So, but yeah, great show overall.
We might see them versus the Hurt Business in the near future, maybe. Who knows?
Possibly so.
Who knows? Any other thoughts from AEW Grand Slam?
No, my heart immediately drops because I know we're about to talk Vengeance Day. Like you said, we were there in person, but for this to be Black History Month and the results that we got, this was absolutely abysmal. I'll just go ahead and jump the gun and be like, I know we both said like, bruh, Trick Williams cannot lose a strap match in Black History Month, and that is exactly what we went there and saw. And I remember we was all in that shit. Us and everybody in Care First Arena. When he hits, like, effectively Eddie Thorpe hits him with like a code breaker or, first 48 if you're, Carmelo Hayes, double knees to the face and pins Trick. And it was not stone silence like The Undertaker, but in the NXT sense, that's effectively what happened.
Yeah, it was like we were all kind of caught off guard. It was like, what? How is this supposed to be? Like, this is not how the match was supposed to end.
And that didn't look like a finisher. That's why I'm like, what was his HP really that far down? Was he actually blinking red? He must have been.
I don't know. Yeah, that one was wild. Again, the only thing that Eddie Thorpe can get away with is that he's Native American.
That's the pill that we gotta swallow. That don't do nothing for him. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got no issue with this. He just doing his job.
Yeah, he's just doing his job. The bigger problem is Ethan Page. I feel like if I had to pick Ethan Page beating Javon Evans, I thought that was the bigger problem. Especially because, like, I told you, like, near the end of that match, I was like, if you saw Javon, because he had a mouthpiece in from the beginning of the match, but, like, near the end of the match, I'm like, bro's got his mouthpiece in like he's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like, he's not even, he ain't even got the joint in. That joint is basically halfway, like he's Steph just chewing. Yeah, he's just chewing on it like Steph Curry. And I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing? Your nickname for me is the nickname I give him for him is Mr. Glass, at least for this current storyline, because bro comes out after missing like 2 or 3 weeks, gets in a little squabble up with Ethan Page, and then what happens? Ethan Page just has one clean hit to the jaw, and that man's jaw is already bleeding and broken. So, like, come on, bro. Like, you can't be wide receiving your mouthpiece if it's necessary for you to stay healthy. And then Javon Evans ends up losing to Ethan Page. That was like back-to-back matches too.
Yeah,
that was the wild part. That was back-to-back matches. The only thing that saved us was Obafemi beating Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And again, if we want to say the same thing happened in Grand Slam when Buddy Matthews and Harley Cameron both lose, but Toni Storm winning the women's championship is kind of like a 2-pointer that kind of evens it out. Okay, Obafemi took out 2 people, and basically, I guess it kind of ties it up that we the black community went 2-2 last night. But man, like those were honestly the most shocking outcomes of the entire show, was both Javon Evans and Trick Williams both losing their independent matches.
For sure. And but I'm not mad at putting Ethan Page over. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if anything, this is something that like Javon could like just always come back to, because you broke my shit up. I could always just come and like spin the block. But I don't know if there's another match coming for them. If I'm Javon, I'd be pissed. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, the 3rd week in a row or 3rd time in 5 weeks, however many it was. Yeah. Because he stuck his shit. He really stuck him. Like, I remember in person, that's where we were sitting. I saw the mouthpiece fly out just from the finish of the match. So I was like, damn, I already knew that was going to be it. But rough waters for him, for sure.
Maybe there's an attitude change coming for him, or at least a little bit more of a serious, because he's been kind of the happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and even when they were in the Survivors Challenge that they had back in like November, after that, all the other guys were like, man, like I had the chance, I almost had it, and then Javon was like, yo, man, that was dope, we should do that again, I'm ready to run it back, and everybody was like, bro, like, why are you not pissed? And so maybe this kind of gives Javon Evans a little bit of, not saying he's going to go heel, but a little tweak into that attitude where it's like he ain't going to be as so happy-go-lucky anymore as he or not anymore, but not as on a frequent basis. I think there's going to be some times where he's going to be like a little bit more serious in tone.
Mm-hmm. And we both had, I remember theorizing about the tag team match. Fraxium. And I was saying that was great. That was like low-key the show stealer. Yeah. And I just remember before the match started, I was like, the only way you're going to be able to knock off Fraxium at this point is like just meat, or beef. Yeah. Pause. Like some just overpowering them because they're still small guys straight up, or an actual storyline. And the way that Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura were chopping the shit out of Axiom's chest, they really had me believing for real. But
Briggs and Inamura looked really legitimate threats in the future. Because again, to your point, with Nathan and Frazier and Axiom, we've seen them kind of go through the gauntlet. There's been times where we were like, okay, one of y'all has a match earlier in the night, and then y'all still got to defend the tag team titles, and then y'all still end up retaining your titles. So you've already kind of made it very hard to see them lose. And the way that this match was playing out, even when Fraxium would isolate one of Briggs or Inamura, it was like, okay, you got one tree trunk down, now you got to do it again. And usually that's not the case. Usually there's one big guy, and then the other guy is kind of like a smaller guy. You got 2 big guys, and it's like, all right, we got one streak chunk down, and now he's been isolated. But how long is he going to be isolated? And do we have enough time to take out the other big guy? And they eventually pull it out. But I came out of this saying that I could definitely see Josh Briggs and Inamura being like legitimate tag team holders in title. Like they might be a Franken team at this current moment, but I do think they will work themselves into being like a legit tag team.
I agree with you with the Franken team thing, but if you remember, they showed like the video package right
Yeah.
before the match started, and I said to you because they had the whole segment of Briggs giving Inamura like his own like biker jacket, and I was like,
Yeah.
their odds of winning just went up 5% because they look more, they're matching, like they're more of a team now. And like I said, they had us believing for sure. But hey, Axiom, they just got the is it if Seth or not Seth, but if Sammy got Diamond, they're platinum tag team resilience. Like they're not as
Yeah.
up there with Sammy, but they're next
They're getting
level
close.
there. Like holy
Yeah,
shit,
they're getting
yeah.
close. It's gonna be it's gonna
And
be it's gonna be
this
pretty
run is
I mean,
great.
unless you got someone from the main roster,
True.
it's
Come
gonna
down
be
to
pretty
beat 'em.
shocking to it's gonna be pretty hard to see who takes them out and
True.
and takes the titles off of them.
And
I go ahead if you have
oh
more
no, go ahead.
thoughts.
If you had no, I was gonna go to something else.
Yeah, I was gonna switch over to Fallon Henley and Stephanie Vaquer. I had picked Fallon Henley, but that's just because I thought Bailey was gonna win based off of some of the logic and fantasy booking that I had in my head, but that did not play out. The Stephanie and Fallon match was still nice. I really enjoyed it. Stephanie is still going on a tear. Now she's Women's North American Champion, and Bailey ended up not winning. Julia ended up retaining as probably was the betting favorite. Not even probably was the betting favorite, but again, that's what I was like. Hey, I knew I was going to take the L. I have to find ways. You could be conservative in your picks. I have to take these chances in order to make a comeback.
You still got to apply logic to it, though. Like
I applied logic. I applied logic as to why.
I'm making fun of you. I know that. I'm just saying you can give your booking and everything, but it's just overthinking a little bit. Because I mean, honestly, not for nothing, I was more concerned about picking Stephanie because I pointed out that they won their titles at the same time. They've only had these titles for a month and a half, 2 months. So I just felt like the Stephanie for me was a swing. I felt like, honestly, because really you have more runway with Fallon. But I mean, Julia, yeah, you should know better. You should know better than picking against Julia right now.
Yeah, I said it. Part of me is just trying to take a chance and trying to find ways that I can, get some wins on this record score right now. But it ain't working out to my liking. But through all this show, there was some appearances. We had a random faction that I still don't think we know the name of yet.
Retribution 2.0.
Yeah, that's at least what fans are kind of calling it right now. But we have the first time they came out, I forget who they attacked. I know they attacked Obafemi the second time. The first time was it
before?
Huh?
So did they come out before? I think
they came out, and I think they attacked Fraxium.
Did they? I remember because we were getting a beer like as Trick was being introduced, and that's the only time we were away from our seats. Though was the beginning of that match. I really don't remember that honestly.
I feel like they came out twice, but I know they definitely came out and attacked Obafemi. But we have a new faction of 4 coming out. Well, they also made an appearance, or not an appearance, but at the end of the show of NXT, they took out Roger Stone, and they destroyed like Ava's office. Yeah. And then we also saw Jordan Grace appear at the end of the show. With I think Stephanie was there too, and they basically had like a Jordan has a choice basically of like who she wants to go against, and that is they continue that storyline later in the week when we get to NXT. But what are your thoughts on both of those?
Not completely unexpected to have like just the pose at the end to close the show. But yeah, after Julia retains, Stephanie Vaquer comes out, and to me that was just saying new generation NXT or the new NXT women's division. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and you said like literally maybe a second or second and a half before Jordan Grace came out, you just said the name Jordan Grace. And then sure enough, she came out. And I was like, man, look at that. You called the hell out of that. So props there. But obviously we were sitting on hard cam side, so we were just looking at their backs, but looking back at it, they or Jordan looks at both of their titles. Whereas the first time, Stephanie holding her title is looking at Julia's also when they raise their titles together. So, long-term booking probably for between the 3 of them. I definitely think Jordan will be in the front of the line or sooner rather than later, she will challenge for one of those titles. But that conclusion between the three of them, hopefully, if we get like a story out of them, isn't going to be until like, a year from now or something. At least those three women, you can work for a year.
I would like to see, and I can't remember the last time they actually did this, but the one that's coming to mind is WrestleMania 2000. It was, I believe, Kurt Angle had both the Intercontinental and the European titles, and he was in a triple threat match with Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. And basically, they had consecutive matches where both, like, first the European title was on the line, and then the Intercontinental title on the line, and then Kurt Angle ended up titleless after the match because Jericho won one title and Benoit won the other title.
Yeah.
I would like to see at Stand and Deliver Stephanie versus Jordan versus Julia in a
that's
similar
fire.
match.
If they do that, yeah, no, that's dope. That's dope.
But then, like, instead of having, obviously because one person is not holding two belts at the current moment, but it'd be an interesting way to kind of swap the titles around. You know what I'm saying? Like, what about if Jordan ends up being NXT Women's Champion, and then Stephanie ends up taking or I guess Julia ends up taking over the North American Championship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what kind of machinations would kind of come out of that, but that'd be something. Any thoughts on this faction, or is it still too early to tell?
Too early. Yeah, I mean, they literally haven't said anything. They just appeared. We
don't even know their faces. I mean, unless you know who they are, like, we don't know who they are or what their faces look like. So
yeah, they were completely covered. And honestly, it took me, like, in person, it took me like 5 seconds to understand what was happening.
Yeah,
where I'm like, oh, we're doing spotlights, and then we got the guy up behind us.
Yeah, one of the dudes was like right down our aisle. It was really cool.
He was like right there next to us, and it was like, oh shit, oh look at this, and it's like, okay, we see around the arena that we got this faction attacking Obafemi. So yeah, I mean, this was very retribution-y. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say Shield like, just because Shield was 3 men and their faces weren't covered. So hard to make that comparison. And you're talking about those 3 guys are literally carrying the wrestling industry right now. I know that's a long shot. That was 15 years ago, but I mean, maybe these guys can be carrying the industry 15 years from now. So
that's wild. Who would know? Who would imagine?
Exactly. That's all I got.
But yeah, great show. It was my first time being in that arena. It's the smaller venue. It's not the Capital One Arena where they do Raw and SmackDowns and like larger main show pay-per-views at PLEs. But this is where the Mystics play. It's a nice small venue, but it was really, like I said, it was really dope. We had great seats. We pretty much were in a hard cam the entire time. We went back and you can watch back the footage, and if you see a red Rockets hoodie, that's Moody. And I'm right next to him.
Yeah, it's very bright red with the astronaut or the Dunkster.
Was that? I'm sure. Was that intentional? As I look back on it, I was like, that had to be intentional. It's okay.
Of course it was. I was like, I want to see myself on TV. Immediately when I got home, I went back and looked at the replay, and I'm like, yep, there we are.
We in there.
Plenty of screen time. Yep.
Yeah. And then, like I said, great seats, right on the hard cam, elevated, $50 without tax. So really enjoyed it, and definitely looking forward back to going to the, what is it called? Care First Arena? Because I still remember it as Entertainment and Sports Arena originally. But yeah, looking forward to going back there whenever they get whether it be an NXT show or a GCW, TNA, AEW show, doesn't matter, but that's a good venue. Really enjoyed it. Let's move over to the flagship show of Monday Night Raw. And you seem a little bit more higher on this show to me. It wasn't a bad show. It was just kind of more of a standard show. So I'll let you get out. Your primos are actual primos and not just something that you just visually enjoyed. So I'll let you start off.
Yeah. Number one, best thing on the show is actually Roxanne. Oh shit, I didn't even put her name in. Who did Roxanne Perez beat? Raquel, yeah. Man, Roxanne, like, at least as far as wrestling, Roxanne beating Raquel is more than intriguing to me, because her gimmick is the prodigy, and so far, we look at her like main roster run. She already has the longest time in the Rumble,
Yeah.
and now it's obviously jumping or not jumping the shark, but I don't think we're off track if she wins. But it would go with her. It would be upset, crazy upset to bet on Roxanne in this elimination chamber, but it wouldn't. It would surprise me, but I'm just like, damn, that does fit with the gimmick. So that thought came to me, and Kaz said that on Masked Man. Like he solidified that. He's like, yeah, he's like, if you think about it, there is a world where, she actually does win the elimination chamber and go on to Mania and beat, Rhea, which obviously sounds nuts. Like right now, as wrestling fans, but I'm like, yo, hey, you make a good case, Kaz. So that just made my thought process of that go up a little bit. But banking still, I'm like, beating Bianca would still be nuts. Unless,
Yeah.
Jade, yeah. So because you still gotta have, like, as you've been saying, Rock Stone Cold or Bianca Rhea at some point in time. So it's like, yeah, that would definitely be the betting favorite right now. But very, very surprising. I thought I thought Liv was gonna have backup, in the elimination chamber.
Yeah.
But yeah, Roxanne is in there. And like, forgive me for not having this up right now, but I looked at the match graphic earlier, and 5 out of the 6 women, every woman in this match is a former champion, with the exception of Roxanne. She's the only one who hasn't held like the women's world title before.
Yeah, and
So,
she's NXT Women's Champion, or was
Yeah,
NXT Women's
was.
Champion. So technically, you're 6 for 6 if you want to.
well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, keep it up on that. I have this as mid rising, and I think a lot of things that you just said kind of is nothing against the match. It ain't even against. It's nothing against anything. It's more so. I think with Roxanne and a lot of these people that come up from NXT and are getting onto the main roster, some of us have a little bit more are in the know of who these people are and their capabilities and kind of like, their history, that we know that, yeah, Roxanne is better than Raquel.
Yeah.
Don't let the size fool you. Roxanne is better than Raquel. Roxanne is better than Liv. Roxanne is one of the probably top. She's probably, I'd say, top 5 women's wrestlers in the company.
Mm.
Like probably 5. If you had to go like Bianca, Rhea, Charlotte, Bailey.
I mean, that's tough. Yeah. I mean, top 10 for sure, but this ain't I'm not here to argue ranking with you. She's great.
My point is the way that we talk about some of these NXT wrestlers moving up to Raw or SmackDown is different than if you actually hear the commentary of like what the commentary is saying about them is completely different. Because when Roxanne won this, Michael Cole was like, the Cinderella story continues for Roxanne Perez. And I'm like, is this a Final Four Cinderella run?
Mhm.
Like, when did she become this complete underdog? She's NXT Women's Champion. Like, she was, you know what I'm saying? And so that's where I can understand Cass saying there's a world where Roxanne wins the Elimination Chamber and beats Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. But I'm like, oh, well, according to the main roster, she is a 16 seed.
Yeah.
Going against a 1. And it's like, that's a 5 seed.
She's like a 12 at least, because we gotta remember that main roster, like the main roster kayfabe of it all. It's like minor league. That's how they treat it. They treat NXT like the minor leagues. We know that's what that is. So you can't like take that out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I mentioned that there's 5 women's champions versus the only newbie. You know what I'm saying? She is still a newbie, and for her to have her first, or not her first, because she was in the Rumble last year, I believe, also, but for her to basically in her first main roster action break the record for the longest Rumble time, I think we're just jumping off that point, you know what I'm saying, for her character, because she is still the prodigy. You got to work the gimmick. So I think Cinderella, yes, it is heavy-handed, but they're just getting over the fact that she's a rookie, you know what I'm saying, or rookie in the main roster sense.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
But that's where I'm like,
that's all it is.
I get it. Like, technically, there's probably a lot of people that aren't watching NXT, but I thought that was a little bit over the top. Or even
It's
even
fine.
earlier in the night when there was the not Braun Breaker, it was AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio, and then eventually Braun Breaker ended up coming out.
Mhm.
AJ Styles just like he ducks away from a spear, and Dominic gets hit with it and things of that nature. And then again, no fault of Michael Cole, you're selling a story, right? So I'm not even really blaming him. I'm just catching what he's saying. He's like, AJ Styles has just made an embarrassment of Braun Breaker, and he's having one of the worst nights of his life. I'm like, come on now, like, what are we talking about?
I'll say it's strong, just the fact that it was Raquel. If it was like a former women's champion or something, I would say, yeah, we could say Cinderella. But yeah, it's kind of strong to be beating Raquel, who hasn't gotten a W on TV since like she's returned to TV, basically.
Oh, she's probably had one in the tag team, but yeah, I can't think of a singles match.
Yeah, it's a singles. That's what I'm saying. Like her rating, her WWE 2K25 rating goes down as a singles competitor as compared to, when she's tagging with Liv. That's what I'm saying.
It's funny. If you want to go by 2K ratings, apparently her and Io Sky are the exact same rating as an 86.
Well, that's funny, but you know what I'm saying. Well, you know what we talk about.
Yeah.
We know how video games should work. But yeah, great stuff. My other primo I had was just the declaration of the unsanctioned match, just because this gave me the warm fuzzies of, once again, indie wrestling, where we're getting it. You need to go back and watch the Ladder War, bro. Go back and watch the Ring of Honor, El Generico versus Kevin Steen Ladder War, because that's what we're about to get. Hopefully so. These guys, obviously, I don't think they're going to be doing some of the stuff that they were doing in their 20s, like obviously. But
you never know. Kevin literally just took an Alabama slam through a goddamn ladder.
True. So I'm just looking forward to it, and just how heavy-handed it was with not Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce. This isn't something I can sanction.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. So
it's not official, but it's unsanctioned. No, that was cool. That's cool. Again, Sammy and KO, that's like eternal rivalry forever. Even though we know they're like really great friends. I don't really have this anywhere. If anything, it'd probably be Shake to probably mid-stable, because it's a little bit of expected. I honestly thought, and again, I don't have a problem with the unsanctioned match. It's pretty much damn near the same thing about what I'm about to say. I wish this was an underground match.
No, the underground match doesn't get over the hatred enough. You like an unsanctioned match has got to be. This is beyond blood feud. Like underground match, that's just Lola Vice's gimmick at this point. You know what I'm saying? That's the most effective use of an underground match.
You can make it dope. It's
sure,
it's
but
the aesthetics. It's like you take out the ropes and stuff like. It could have been dope. It could have been dope. But I'm not mad with an unsanctioned match. I'm not mad with it.
The last WWE unsanctioned match was Grayson Waller versus Johnny Gargano at NXT Stand and Deliver 2023, and the last one on the main roster was Randy Orton versus The Big Show on Raw in 2020.
I feel like we had those more recently. Wasn't Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns? Wasn't that an unsanctioned match, or was that just a street fight? That's probably what it is.
This is all of them, all the unsanctioned matches in history. Just a quick rundown from the beginning. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, SummerSlam 2002. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels, Unforgiven 2008. Randy Orton versus Shane McMahon, Raw 2009. Seth Rollins versus Triple H, WrestleMania 33. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. That was a great one. That's a great rivalry. NXT TakeOver New Orleans. That's 2018. Drake Maverick versus Mike Kanellis, WWE 205 Live, 2019. And then, like I said, Randy and Big Show. And the only other one on here is Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly at Stand and Deliver 2021. So that's all of them. And now we're getting Sammy and Kevin. But yeah, this will be the best one since, for sure. Oh,
you gonna say Johnny and Ciampa?
Well, sure. I'm pushing it back towards like Seth and Triple H. Honestly, it could be better than that. The only reason that it wouldn't be is that because it's that Mania. That one's at Mania, but it's like that's the biggest stage. But match work wise, I'm sure this is going to be better than that. This might go back to Jericho Shawn Michaels because that was like peak rivalry of that entire year. That was feud of the year. But yeah, I just like the unsanctioned match, and it's going to be blood everywhere. I'm sure, or it better be.
Yeah, I gotta add this to when we get to SmackDown, but I think what Kevin did on SmackDown made me a little bit more interested in this match
hmm
than I previously.
Yeah, I'm holding off on that context. Yeah, right now for sure. But good stuff. Your primo.
My primo, it's just Bianca and Naomi dressed up as the Compton Glovers.
hmm
It was great, and
Yeah.
it tied in. It tied into why they were there on Raw to begin with, because we found out on SmackDown last week that Liv and Raquel are potentially behind the attack on Jade. That put Jade out, and so they're like, "Hey, we're gonna make an appearance on Monday Night Raw," and they were dressed up as the Compton Clovers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with who the Compton Clovers are.
I beat you to this. This is my champion of the week. So that's why I'm holding off on this. But go ahead.
But yeah, the Compton Clovers, bring it on. Gabrielle Union and her friend, I don't remember the actress's name, and her friend, but she had a friend that had the bandana on and whatnot. They look exactly like them.
Exactly like them. I got the pictures.
That was dope.
In
And
the Notion doc
the
right
whole
now.
thing is they wanted to bring it on, and it was already brought in. The whole thing fits well. Even that is the most unified outfit to reason to why you're here on that is the most connected. That I thought that was just that could be almost top shelf, but I'm not giving you top shelf just for your outfit of choice. But you know what I'm saying? Like that was great. That was great.
If anything, we add a new category at the Uppies and we just say wardrobe of the year or something.
Oh, for sure. What I'm saying? We definitely need to do that.
Nomination. This is a nomination.
Yeah, we definitely need to add wardrobe of the year.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna hold off just because, of course, I'm familiar and they're champions of the week for me. You talked about Roxanne and Raquel.
I don't know anybody that doesn't like Bring It On. Even if you're a dude, is like, yeah, Bring It On that's a great film. The second and third one, I'm like, all right. Like, second one ain't that. It's just not as good as the first one. Like, the first Bring It On is still a classic.
For me, I got that's aforementioned Spear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's next up for us, right? It's AJ versus Braun for the title. That's why I captioned it this next up. That's what I think is happening.
That's what it's looking like. AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker. Two Georgia boys.
This is mid-stable just because I actually love the matchup, in ring. Mm-hmm. But the only reason I'm upset is because I feel like I don't want AJ to lose this match this close to Mania.
Exactly.
That's what's upsetting because I'm like, why? You know what I mean? So it's mid-stable. I'm intrigued by the match for sure. I know, goddamn, like the way he ran through. I mean, Braun runs through everyone. He cuts people in half when he spears you. So Dom ate that up, man. Great. I mean, it's so funny because I want to say great sell by Dom, but I don't think anybody's selling. Braun spear. Nobody's actually selling this. He's
that
just
is a legit tackle. He is tackling legitimately.
This is an outside linebacker or a downhill middle. You know what I'm saying? So
it's funny because he played fullback in college.
Was he fullback? Okay, yeah,
he was a fullback in college.
Yeah.
I think everything that you said is like, I can see this is coming. We can all see this is coming down the pipeline of AJ versus Braun. I just don't want AJ to lose.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I'm like, maybe I do think I've warmed up a little bit more to Braun. I'm still not over yet. Just for the fact, I think it's a little bit redundant with his character. There's not much growth. And I do think if there was some adversity, he hasn't really faced true adversity. He's been
dominant.
Yeah. And so I maybe there is him losing at WrestleMania. And, maybe within the storyline that we have from now until WrestleMania, maybe AJ is just kind of talking about how, like, you're not up for the moment. Mm-hmm. You're gonna fail at the biggest moment in your career at WrestleMania, and I'm gonna be the one to take that title off of you. And then maybe that kind of gets Braun Breaker into a Gunther like tailspin for a little bit.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I just need
like losing
something that
confidence and
like
stuff. Yeah.
I just need something for Braun Breaker to be more than just like I'm a raised animal that I'm just gonna come spear people and not even like talk that much. He talks a little bit more than other wrestlers, but I'm like I just need something to attach me to him that I'm still feel like I'm missing. So
Yeah,
that's why I just want AJ to win. But to your point, I would not be surprised if they just had AJ lose another WrestleMania.
And honestly, I like the thought of Braun like running the IC division or mid card division for a while because he is so dominant. But yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. Is that what we need is a story for him outside of just like in-ring stuff? Because the only adversity that he had was losing the title in the first place when Jay beat him on Raw.
Yeah.
But even then, it's not like he was.
He only got it back like 2 months later.
Yeah. And it's not like he wasn't despondent. You know what I'm saying? He was like, I was off my game tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like Jay got me beat, which yeah, exactly. Which I fuck with that because he's like, he got me this night. He wasn't like throwing a temper tantrum or nothing. But yeah, you need some kind of like just something to sink your teeth into. So we're almost all the way there, fully formed with Braun. But like, if we could get like we need somebody. We need a like a Jericho to like bounce off of him to do like most of the like shenanigans, like the silly stuff to get under his skin and like be better on the mic. You know what I'm saying? Somebody can go
shoot. Punk would be nice.
Yeah. That ain't what Punk came back for. But yeah, no, that would be sick though. That would actually be a sick fucking booking, actually. So yeah. Who's like that? I don't know.
Seth?
Sure, Seth, or if LA Knight was on Raw.
LA Knight would be good.
Yeah, because on mic stuff, yeah, for sure. Like I could imagine that back and forth between those two. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think LA Knight will give him like the deep cut.
Yeah, he's not up there enough for it to be like you said, adversity, for him to be going against adversity. I don't think.
Yeah. It's got to be someone like a little bit more established, because even AJ, like I think AJ, he's got the like I am a generational talent type of,
I think the obvious answer where we're going or where they've been teasing is Penta. Penta's in that slot, and Penta can cut promos too. So I like that. Granted, he doesn't translate as much just because he doesn't have a language barrier, but just because English is his second language, he doesn't get like all of the oomph. But I like that.
You can mix. Hey, if you making some Spanglish,
sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if he can, because there's just gonna have to be like something punchy that he can say to get under his skin, I guess. Or I don't know. That's just like what I'm saying. That's what I feel like Braun's weakness is. Like somebody needs to get a rise out of him and like get him off his game. Yeah, and that's how he'll, lose the title. But just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think we agree.
And go ahead, lead us to this last one.
Yeah, our last mid that we both agree upon. I have this mid stable to mid rising. Seth is the final qualifier. I believe the final qualifier for the Elimination Chamber, beating Finn Balor. Yeah, there's nothing you can argue about this match. Like it is what it is. Seth, Finn, both great, talented guys. There could have been an argument to possibly Finn winning this, but I am glad that Seth won. Now, when we take in consideration, like, obviously, I'm a big Seth Rollins guy. That's my guy. Do I think he's going to win the Elimination Chamber? I don't know. I feel like the men's chamber is a little bit harder to pick than the women's, but I'm glad that Seth is getting this opportunity. And then I just hope it works itself out that whatever happens at Elimination Chamber, it gets him something towards the main event and not just working in the mid card. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I just hope that it just gets my guy into the main event conversation and not being left out.
I mean, yeah, there's something to that. I think when you're talking about people who are super established like that, I mean, it might be just him and Drew, also on the other side on SmackDown that might be on the outside looking in as far as like main like or big spots at Mania. But
Mhm.
I mean, there's a time and place for everything. It's not like I'm not saying that I don't want Seth or Drew on Mania. Obviously, I do, but it wouldn't upset me if we actually got, for the sake of storylines, we're just carrying out this storyline right now. We just got to clear shit up until on the other side of Mania. You know what I'm saying? Start the new season, as it were. And then it's like, oh, okay. So with us being this close to Mania, if it's like Seth gotta, I don't know, like you said, work the mid card right now, then that's fine. But he's Seth and Drew's Drew. So it's like they're never actually outside of the main event, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
at any point in time. So but just a reminder, men's elimination chamber right now: Cena, Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins. Drew's not winning because he's won 2 years in a row. And I also agree with you that I don't think Seth is winning. It's either going to be, or I think it's only Punk because I don't see Logan Paul or Damian Priest winning, and that leaves Cena. And Cena isn't going to get his shot right now. Maybe he would. I mean, that's not out of place.
I mean,
Cena, Cody for Mania, that's not out of place.
Punk has a Heyman deal in his back pocket.
Does.
So right now, if I had to pick, I'm picking Cena.
Oh, okay.
If I had to pick today, I'm picking John Cena to win the Elimination Chamber. Now I got a week to make this official, so don't hold me to that. But like now in my mind, especially with what happened on SmackDown last night with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be surprised to see Cody versus Cody versus
Cena? Absolutely not.
Versus Rock in a triple threat match?
I would be surprised about if it's all three. I would be surprised about that. Yeah.
Is that any different than Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 18? It's like you want to have these generation versus generation matches. This is probably going to be your only time that you could have a generation versus generation matchup.
Yeah, that's one you take it for sure.
But we'll hold off with the Rock conversation for SmackDown.
For the Shake, I got Penta going over Pete Dunne. Yes, we want to see Penta. We've already seen this match. Therefore,
I didn't like the chicanery. I thought
with Ludwig.
I thought Ludwig was a little too cartoonish in his role in that match. Mm-hmm. I get what they were trying to do, but I don't even know. Actually, I don't even know what they want to do because I'm like, is this going to be a triple threat number one contenders match between these three? Or I don't understand what's kind of happening a little bit. I'm a little confused with the story, but I thought Ludwig was a little too cartoonish in his appearance within this match.
Yeah. I think that I like that booking right now. I mean, obviously, like we said earlier, I'm pretty sure it's AJ that's next up. So that could be, would that be actually on the show? Like just straight up number one contendership triple threat?
Not
exactly. So or not Mania. No, I mean Elimination Chamber, because that would be the Mania match. Because we got AJ losing at Chamber, right?
Would you even put it when's the last time they had a number one contenders match on a pop-up show?
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm like, I feel like that's definitely like the go home.
They probably
show
do that at a Saturday night's main event or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go. That's what it's for. It's for Saturday night's main event. There you go. Cool. And last thing, Dakota Kai. She's the number one contender for the women's
I'm happy about that.
Title.
I'm happy about that. Though, when you see Dakota Kai versus Ivy now for a number one contenders match, it's like, I like you, Ivy, but you ain't really do anything much to even be in this position to get a number one contenders match. That now we're getting Dakota Kai versus Lyra Valkyria round 2, you know, and I'm gonna be pushing for Dakota.
Yeah, because they haven't done anything with Lyra yet either, outside of her, holding up her title backstage.
Again,
and stuff,
nobody. She doesn't talk.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we would hope that, as I said before, that that these titles could be treated seriously for similarly to like the men's, intercontinental US title. But there's even points and times when, for sure, the US title is on the back burner, like a crazy back burner. So, I'm glad that they have the titles, but I guess I'm saying there's still more runway. We just got them. These titles have existed for 3 months, so we'll get a story out of it eventually. Well, give it a year. Give it a year for these titles to be around. I said 3 months. Give it a year, but we need to have, something that we can sink our teeth into, so we can care about these belts as well, not just recognize them as such.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was news to come out about the women's roster and how they're feeling about WWE's booking. We'll talk about that when we get to some news about Carmella later in the week. But I'll remind me to mention about WWE's women, the women in WWE, and how they feel about their booking that's been going on. But that's it from the flagship, right? Or you got any more thoughts?
No, that's it.
All right. Before we head into the bodega, let's have a quick conversation on something that I've said at least before, both on the podcast and off the podcast. Michael Cole, I think he was on Logan Paul's podcast, and he said, Michael Cole says that WWE is a storytelling entity first and not professional wrestling anymore. The full quote says, "That's why Netflix wanted us. Netflix understand that we're a storytelling entity first. We're not professional wrestling anymore. We haven't been for many years. We are an entertainment product." And that got a lot of people online kind of fighting against some of those thoughts and ideas, and saying that that's the main reason why I don't watch WWE anymore. This, that, and the third. My thoughts, but so I'll let you kind of get your thoughts out first.
I think this is a nothing comment, because we know that. It's similar to like how I was saying, like kayfabe was broken back in 1997 officially, when he comes out there and says that we're like predetermined and all that shit. Like this has not been a thing for a long time. So I mean, if anything, I would really speak to more so of like, that's why Netflix wanted us. And I'd be like, yeah, because Netflix fucking sucks. I told you, I've been telling you, for me personally, for the last 3 years, they have been stealing money from me, because for whatever reason, I never fucking canceled it, and now they got Raw. But I know the only reason that I didn't cancel it was for shit like Sakamoto Days, because the only thing that is their lifeline, as far as I'm concerned, is anime. They got a great anime selection, and now they got Raw, so now I'm like, damn, I actually got a gun to my head. You know what I'm saying?
Football on there too.
That's more so,
at least
that's
one
more
game.
Comment to me about it, that Netflix is becoming cable. You know what I'm saying? Getting live events and shit like that. But that's common with other streamers. But Netflix is still like the big dog as far as like the most owned streamer and shit, I believe. Don't get me talking out the side of my ass, but I'm pretty sure that's true. So, that makes all the sense in the world to me. Of course they would want you. Like, shit, have people every single week watching, at least 3 million people watching one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just smart. That's smart business.
Yeah, I said, I with you, this is not really that big of a deal of a comment to me, because I've been saying this for a bit of a while. I'm like, everyone that is wrestling on TV, especially on a national level, is good at wrestling. 95% of the time, like, you're going to see, if you're seeing somebody actual in the wrestling ring wrestle, they know how to wrestle, and they've been wrestling for a while. You might get your max scenes, but even then, that they're working to get better. But most of the people on there are actually like good wrestlers. So the difference is that this is, again, your competition, even in the regards for AEW. AEW, your competition is not just WWE. It's all of the other shows that are running at Wednesday between the hours of 8 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever sport is on. It's whatever major news conflict that's happening that got people tuned into CNN or Fox News for the night, right? It's whatever reality TV show that's running. And so when I say my issues with AEW is just not a lack of engaging storyline, because again, I say this, their wrestling is on par. It's better than WWE. WWE has a certain style. AEW is a little bit more of an artistic approach when it comes to the wrestling. But the wrestling in the ring is like, if I had to compare it, it's like an MCU movie, right? We know an MCU movie that we're going to get these battle scenes, right? Whether it be in the middle or the end of the movie, right? We're going to get these huge battle scenes. But what's a battle scene if you didn't feel like you got paid, if you didn't feel like you had the story to get you there?
Yeah.
The story, there's only going to be so much story that's being told in the ring during a wrestling match that who cares if the 2.5 hours that I was watching in this movie before we even get to this major battle didn't give me any weight, didn't give me any care that whoever dies in this end scene of the battle, I don't really care. So yeah, the battle looked cool, but
I agree with what you're saying. It's tougher to thread the needle with wrestling being your main mechanic of getting the story over. Yes, I agree. It can be used as a vehicle. It's just harder to get it over. But that's why you need the important stuff of like Seth Rollins on the mic or Chris Jericho on the mic, Punk on the mic to able to get these storylines over organically and make the people feel connected to them as they're watching them. Because there's a difference between, what the worst thing is, I'll say this also as a DM, is that I don't want to exposition you guys to death. You know what I'm saying? I want to show, not tell. So that's where the appeal is for, like, specifically like a New Japan, where, there's no talking. The only talking they do is pre and post press conferences. That's it. There's no promos or nothing like that. It's just straight in-ring storytelling. You can have an Okada and, Omega quadrilogy that goes down in the history books, but it's just harder to get that across the TV screen. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're at that level of wrestling. You know what I'm saying? That's why that feud stands the test of time, because it's like, holy shit, we didn't need words. You know what I'm saying? You understand absolutely all the emotions, but it's way harder to thread that needle because you're doing it with your body.
And again, you're making a TV show at the end of the day. Not really a wrestling show. You're making a TV show. Again, you're competing against the Breaking Bads, the Severances, the, Love Island Temptation, whatever, Temptation Island or whatever it's called. Like every TV show you are competing against, not just the WWE, not just AEW, not just TNA. You're competing against every television product. You're making a TV show. I'm sorry. Like I can understand people's faults of like, oh man, we didn't get our first wrestling match on Raw until 45 minutes until the show started. Yeah, I can feel you on that. That sucks. Because you do want to see some action. You don't want to just see people just talking for 30 minutes. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, if the story is good, like the Bloodline be talking the most. The most. And that is the best storyline that we've had in 5 years. And it's still going. So that's where I'm like, it's not that big of a deal to me. But again, I just see it differently than probably other people. So not that big of a deal to me, but I can understand where people might feel a certain type of way. But to me, I'm like, yeah, that's what you guys are. Like, to your point, Netflix, the reason they got them is because, hey, for 52 weeks, we have live television that we don't even have to pay to produce. We just need to host it on our Netflix servers. And at 8 o'clock, at least in the United States, for 8 o'clock for 3 hours, we have live television. Live sports, which is the highest rated thing across all of television, is live sports. And to your point, to know that I know every week I'm going to get at least 3 million people to watch live Netflix at a certain time between the hours of 8 and 11 o'clock or 8 to 10:30 for 52 weeks, that's better than anything else that they could put on their server. Because you could put out Stranger Things, right? But you put out Stranger Things in a full batch, that only lasts you a weekend.
And people are going to watch it when they want to watch it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you're not even necessary. You'll get that like weekend spike, you know what I'm saying, when you first put it out. And it's that water cooler talk for the week. But then after that, what are you talking about?
They done with it. They moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, which is why, meanwhile, the best analogy still for wrestling is that it's just men's soap operas. You know what I'm saying? Like when I had to explain that to my coworker, he's like, oh yeah, that does make sense. And I'm like, well, yeah, you think about how long does Young and the Restless, The Bold and the Beautiful fucking run? Like 47 years. These are the same actors. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's just a soap opera. It's a physical soap opera. So
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense for the comment to be said, I guess, because he's on Impulsive. You know what I'm saying? So this is like Logan's crowd, and I would think, anybody who's not necessarily a wrestling fan. This is just like a younger generation, white kid crowd, I'd assume. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Mainstream to a certain sense. So like I said, it's absolutely nothing. I think we spent way too much time on that anyway.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
Let's hurry up and get into this bodega then, I guess.
Yeah, I got for the bodega primo
NXT.
Yeah. Oh man, Moose squaring up against Obafemi, which this is like one of the guys where it's like this is a dream match scenario. You know what I mean? And I don't mean just them physically standing across from each other, but like when we talk about like a tree falling in the woods, does anybody around to hear it?
Yeah.
AKA independent wrestling. And I will fucking and granted TNA is not even independent. That's just a mid-major. You know what I'm saying? Basically. So for Moose to finally cross the fucking waters, like the goddamn Jaws that he is. You know what I'm saying? Like I know over on TNA, that was for me a holy shit moment, like for sure, where I was like, granted, this is also just NXT. This is not a NXT pay-per-view necessarily, or they didn't come to blows either. But the fact that we got the straight up Moose chant, and I knew immediately, like off hearing that music, they look great standing across from each other. And honestly, another reason that I held back from putting this top shelf, because he's one of my favorite like TNA wrestlers ever. He is, I would say for sure, I think he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of TNA. Like you would have AJ Styles on there, Moose. Maybe by default, I got Jeff Jarrett on there since he started the company. You know what I'm saying? But like for me, I wouldn't have him. I'd have Kurt and Samoa Joe. And that's a very, WWE riddled part of it. But it's like, hey, they put in the work. But Samoa Joe, or AJ did, now he is. But either way, Moose, he is the fucking, Drew McIntyre. He's the one who actually beat Drew McIntyre or Drew Galloway when he was still on TNA before he came back to NXT for the TNA Grand Championship, like their version of like the sort of like the Heritage Cup. It's like timed rounds type shit, and if you get a pinfall, you win. But Moose beat him for that. He was out here collecting belts himself and carried them through the dark time, through 2020 and the pandemic era, similar to Drew. So this was great for me. I love the visual of this. This was everything. I just needed the face up. I was like, oh yeah. Presence, aura, as the kids say, all that in the ring.
Yeah.
Two black men on top of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah. Because I'm like, Moose, bro. I've always like, it's not gonna happen. But we just got the Joe Hendry, right? But Moose has been so TNA for so long that I really don't know. I don't want to say he's a deep cut. You know what I'm saying? But TNA has gone through like really bad times. Like, they were Global Force Wrestling, then they went back to they were Impact Wrestling. They changed hands multiple times. So I don't know if they've necessarily connected in that same way where, we went through that hiccup with NXT 2.0, the rainbow period when that first started off, and it took like more than a while to like really get them up off the ground. That's how it kind of felt. So I don't know if necessarily it would connect with the WWE crowd, but the NXT crowd, which we know is a little bit more tapped in, they did the Moose chants. So, man, I would love to see a Moose, Royal Rumble or.
Hey, that's definitely on the cards next year. I definitely think that's going to be on the cards.
So that's me. That's my segment for putting him over. That's my Moose putting him over. If I had
to just, so I have the NXT TNA crossover heating up as a mid-rising, and it's like right on the line, that the Mexican-U.S. border line of, getting into Primo. If I had to extrapolate the Moose segment out of it, then yeah, I would put it in Primo. And the reason I have it in mid-rising is just for the fact that I do think it's going to be hard to see any WWE person really losing this at the end of the day.
That's similar to like where, because they haven't lost any NXT people have not lost anything of consequence, which is why
they've gone to TNA and probably lost a match. I think probably, but I don't think. Yeah, like Jordan Grace beat who was it? Not Ariana Grace. She beat somebody, but it was inconsequential.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because even at that point in time, like when who was it? Crap, Cora Jade. Like when Cora Jade went
Hmm.
over there to challenge for the title, that was on an NXT show. We're like, all right, we know how that's gonna go.
Yeah.
But the only problem I have with this is like because I just put him over as such a legend. I'm like, fuck. It's the same thing with AJ, where I'm
Yeah.
like, WWE is just using TNA to put their guys over. Like, you know what I'm saying? In a certain
Then
sense.
how
And
do
I'm
you
like,
feel
oh
about
man.
the Hardys versus Fraxium? Because it's like, who gets that? Obviously, like you think, okay, yeah, the veterans are gonna put over the
Mhm.
young guys, but I'm like, well, these
Well,
are the
well, yeah,
Hardys.
that's a different conversation because, as you would say, they're WWE guys, so
Yeah.
they have way more stock in the bank of like you know they just came back like 5 6 years ago. Remember at WrestleMania when
Hmm.
New Day was hosting, so there's no doubt that you know comparably there's way more connection with the Hardys. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I would say about that specifically. But
I'm excited
I really
overall,
just
but
don't like.
I just wonder what's going to happen. Like at some point,
No,
especially if TNA wants, if especially if TNA could be potentially be bought by TKO. At some point, you have to give respect to. It has to be a little bit of back and forth. That's
the
all I'm
reason that
saying.
I don't like it so much is because it's for the NXT title. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're just doing a champion versus champion match, I truly wouldn't even know because I love Moose that much. The only
Yeah.
reason I would pick Obafemi is because it would be an NXT show. But if we talking about just straight up champion versus champion, like exhibition, we both coming in here with our belts and we're both leaving with our belts, I'd probably pick a Moose in that just for the intrigue, like you would say with Braun Breaker, of just him having a challenge. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we didn't just have this new, you know, faction show up, but outside of that, like, yeah, that takes it down a notch for me. But I really want to put it top shelf. But it's like he's just gonna lose this. You know, why do you have to challenge for the title? Like, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, it makes sense, I guess, in kayfabe reasons. Like, you're a competitor and you just want to like, man,
Yeah.
fuck you over here. I'll just come and take your belt. You know what I'm saying? Because Moose is that badass over there. And that promo
It
from
requires
Obafemi was great
WWE to
too.
be able to be a little bit of, a little humble and take a loss.
Exactly. Which
That's the only thing that we need to feel comfortable in seeing this, because it's like I don't like if we're gonna have this crossover, it can't just be NXT people just going over TNA people.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
especially because like TNA people are much more senior than most of these guys on NXT.
Hmm. That's very
Like
true.
TNA is more on the level of a Raw or SmackDown as far as talent level than it is NXT.
Yeah.
And so again, there needs to be a little bit of give from WWE side. How is that gonna happen? I don't know.
Not when the title's on the line, but that's the thing that took the air out of the wind or the wind out of my sails for me. Because like I
But
said, straight
Hardy's
up
versus
champion for
Fraxium should be
champion.
fun though. Hardy's
Oh
versus
yeah,
Fraxium should be fun.
that'll be good. But
And yo, shout out to Hardy's. This is the healthiest I've ever seen them.
did you see Jeff's interview? He had a
I don't
recent Chris
believe
Van
so.
Vliet interview. Okay. Well, yeah, he looks very healthy, you know, obviously
Both
very
him and
forthcoming
Jeff
with
look healthy. Both him
yeah.
and Jeff look healthy. And I'm like, man, like I'm so happy for them. Like I said, even when they were kids, I'm like, I don't even think I've ever seen you this healthy when you guys were 20 years old back in the day. Like you guys
Mhm.
look extremely sober and healthy, and it's just glad to see, especially Jeff, because
Yeah,
Matt,
right.
Matt looks probably was more of just like, overweightness or things of that nature, or letting your body go. Jeff probably had a lot of like, had the, the drinking and the drug abuse and stuff like that. But it's just great to see them at this day and age, just like look the healthiest that they've ever looked in their lives. And so shout out to the Hardys for still
Oh
being
yeah.
around.
Team Extreme. Yeah, I was general. Well, what we both got in common is Ricky Starks becoming Ricky Saints,
Yeah.
which I like his promo. Good intro, good intro promo, all that stuff. I'm glad he didn't have any music yet, but it
No,
does
he had
make me
music.
want to. Did he?
He came out to
Like
2
Ricky
Chains.
Saints music?
He came out to
Okay,
2
maybe
Chains.
that is.
And that's
Okay,
what
did he?
I took. I was like, they paid 2
I'll look
Chains,
this
and
up.
2 Chains pop. It was he's like, what was the song? I forget the name of the song, but it was like $1 million from now, I will remember you now. $1 million from now, I forgot the name of the joint, but that's how I took it. I was like, oh, they paid whatever licensing music that they needed to play some 2 Chainz as his entrance.
What threw me off is like, yes, that music is playing, but his name isn't up there. So it just has his picture that says official NXT contract signing. So that's where I was like, is his whole like, I guess gimmick put together? Like we found out his name, Ricky Saints, but either way, that was just.
I think that's why I like the segment. That's the reason I like the segment a lot is because traditionally when WWE does a name change, they try to put it over through commentary and all that stuff. And they waited to the last moment of the segment to tell you what his name was. And it was just a zoom in on the contract that says Ricky Saints. But the entire segment, it was like a 12-minute segment. Nothing about his name was ever said. You know, Ethan Page comes out. He has a little verbal spar with him. Wesley comes out, has another verbal spar with him. Back and forth. Puts him, like, you know, gets him kicked out of the ring and signs the contract. And then at the end of it, you find out that his name is Ricky Saints. I thought that was done extremely well. And it's a different change of pace on how they've gone about doing these name changes. And I'm like, okay. And then honestly, would I have preferred Starks? Sure. But Ricky Saints ain't that bad because, again, the dude's from New Orleans. You know, he's black. You know, so like, you know, the 2 Chainz and the stuff. It makes sense. And then I think there's things that work with it. Now, the thing that runs in my head is I'm trying to picture him winning the world title at WrestleMania and whoever's on, you know, the announcer making the call and saying, and new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Ricky Saints. Does that hit?
Not right now, but
that's the thing where I'm a little cautious on it. Where I'm like, Ricky Starks owns his name, so it's not anything. I think it has to do with just more of other stuff rather than WWE trying to do it. But I don't know if it's early, but I don't know when we get to that point, will that sound a little bit more?
Oh yeah. When we get to that point, yeah, it'll be fine because like it's as close as you're gonna get to his name. You know what I'm saying? Because that is, like you said, he owns his actual legal name, so it's not like Saints is far off, and it is still punchy. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, that's gonna happen sooner than later, just because it ain't gonna be at WrestleMania, but at NXT Stand and Deliver next year. We know that WrestleMania is in New Orleans now, as of next year. So that means that NXT's show is gonna be there next year. Yeah. So NXT champion Ricky Saints, I can believe that by next year, and we'll be perfectly fine with that.
I hope there's a chant that starts where, oh, when Ricky Saints comes marching in.
Oh yeah.
When Ricky Saints comes marching in. I need to figure out the rest of that bar, but that would be a really dope chant. It's kind of like the hey hey Bailey chant, but just like with Ricky Starks. When Ricky Starks comes marching in, I fucks with that.
I'm sure he'll probably even talk to the Saints about the fleur de lis and all that stuff. Like, because once the merch starts coming out, it's gonna fly off the show. It's gonna be like he'll have to talk to the New Orleans.
They don't own
Saints
the fleur de lis. That's a state thing.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, but the Saints and the fleur de lis, and you know what I mean. Like the Saints and fleur de lis together is the Saints. Like you can't do that.
That is the state of Louisiana. I'm just saying, from a legal copyright standpoint, the Saints don't got ownership of the fleur de lis, at least to my knowledge.
Not for the fleur de lis. I'm saying for the name Saints and the fleur de lis combination.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
maybe.
Those independently, you know what I'm saying. But you playing a game. But that's all I got to say about that. I enjoyed the segment. And like you said, I really like the production of it for you, like you said, for it to just be the contract because we already knew who he was. And
I like that. It seems like they're positioning him more towards the NXT championship rather than the North America title.
Yeah. I think he should be there. Also, like he'll have to hack down that trio Bafemi, because do you have anybody beating him? He just got the title. So, like I said, run it the whole year, and maybe it's Ricky that just beats him next year at Stand and Deliver. So,
Yeah, but him and Ethan Page should be a good rivalry.
oh yeah, that'll be a great one on the mic too.
Yeah, I mean, I even like to start off with Wes Lee. I thought Wes Lee, especially now that Wes Lee has highlights in his hair, and it gives him a little bit more, just like, it's just not just the regular, high top, black brown hair. It's like, oh, okay, okay, Wes. The short hair is, it's working a little bit better now. But I think Wesley coming in with that attitude and saying that, like, you just new here and I've been around, I'm this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued to see what happens. I'm intrigued to see what happens. So.
Mm-hmm. What really we need to be more concerned about is that pose getting over, because that pose that works on AEW, but this guy hitting the Michael Jackson without the hat. I'm like,
it's so corny. Like, it's so corny.
It's gonna take a while.
Yeah, it's corny, but I don't know. I enjoy it, but not for the reasons of it looking cool, but just because it's funny.
Yeah.
But hey, certain things will. I think it will get over. I think it will get over.
Maybe. I got this in mid, just as in your shake, but Carmen Petrovic, if anything, it got to be mid, just for the fact that Carmen Petrovic beat both of these women.
Yeah. Which
there's no doubt that she, like, straight up betting odds, if we were to take the kayfabe out of it, we're like, yo, she getting her ass beat. You know what I'm saying? So for Carmen Petrovic is now the number one contender to Stephanie Vaquer's North American title, beating Kaylani Jordan and Jada Parker. This is a traditional sense of a contendership where I like pushing somebody new, because you actually have this rivalry with the other two. Like you said, those two, they just cancel each other out. And that's why she wins, because they're too focused on each other. But I like the push for Carmen. And once again, too early. She ain't going to win. Stephanie just got the title. We just saw that. But if anything, just to put her in the picture, I'm okay with that. And hopefully she can be taken more seriously outside of, like, just me and Ashanti the Adonis taking her seriously for the, love, the romance angle between them two.
Yeah. No. I think everything on the Carmen side, I think, is correct. And I have no disagreements with you. The Kalani and Jada Parker side, I like the push for Kalani being a little bit more heelish in her transformation. I am just not sold at
Jada. She's not beating Jada, if I'm picking right now.
I think she's beating Jada. Well, I'm not sold on Jada being a face. Or even with face tendencies, I'm not sold on that. I believe Kalani losing her shit more than Jada becoming this face. And I think this is something where, again, just from my perspective, it just seems like your WWE is just forcing some shit rather than it organically coming off. I think there is a site of, like, Jada is over with the fans, and so we need to make her not a full face, but make her enough where it's not hard to cheer for her. And I'm like, I just don't buy it. At this current moment, I just don't buy it. I buy more Kalani losing her, becoming a little bit more batter than I believe Jada Parker becoming good.
Have they been putting that over on commentary that Jada's been a good person or something?
I think it's in relation. I don't think it's coming on common commentary, but I take it's more in relationship to what's happening with Kalani. That when they face off, Jada Parker is going to be the face in this situation.
I don't think that's true, because I don't view it that way, because Jada, to me, I see more so like a way easy natural heel. Like, if you said that there are four, like, I understand what you mean by, like, saying in context, like, this rivalry that Kaylani's working heel. I don't think it's necessarily Kaylani working heel versus, like, she is doing heel things right now, but that's because Jada's getting under her skin. And that's why she's going to lose this match. And I think it's also a push for Jada in the sense that, like, Kaylani's already had the North American title. She's the inaugural. So this will be a push for Jada to be pushed up the card a little bit more, or seriously for, like, either NXT or women's title of some type. But yeah, I like the storyline of Kaylani losing her mind, but like as far as Jada being a face, I don't see that at all. I don't believe her being a face at all. I don't want that. So if that's
Neither
the
do I.
direction
And
that
like
they
I
would
said,
choose to go,
maybe I'm
so
wrong
that
and
would
I'm
be.
misreading it. I'm like,
Well,
it seems like
it's a
you're trying to kill.
relation.
It seems like they're trying to kill two birds with one stone. It's like, okay, Kalani used to be this super baby face. Now we're adding some some heel tendencies to her. Jada has kind of been a natural heel to your point for most of her run so far, and now we see that the crowd is really behind her. Let's add some. Let's. It's kind of like bringing them to the middle a little bit, and I'm like, I believe it more for Kalani. I don't believe it for Jada.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment of like, I don't believe it for Jada. I don't want that for Jada either. So, like, if anything, I would have her. The way I view this right now is Jada's character is just getting underneath, like I said, Kaylani's skin, which is why she's acting out of character. And
Yeah.
like she's bringing her down to her level because Jada, her character so far is the street fighter. You know what I'm saying? Anytime that you're having a street fight match, like she won her rivalry with Lola Vice because she hit her with a fucking brick. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's who Jada Parker is. So that's where I see
Yeah,
that
she
going.
ended up losing that. Lola Vice ended up winning that. She tried to hit her with a
The
brick,
underground
but
match, they had a triple. They had a or not triple threat, but they had a rubber match. They had their first match, an underground match, and then a street fight. I'm pretty sure, or maybe I'm getting them backwards. But either way, she was still
Lola Vice is undefeated.
Lola
Lola Vice is undefeated in the
underground match. Yeah, that's hers.
yeah.
So that's why I said it would be a street fight match that I'm pretty sure that they had before that. I don't know which order either way, but
Yeah.
that's her thing. She's a fucking brawler street fighter. Like that's what Jada does. So that's where I think Kaylani's leaning more so into that, like, oh yeah, you think you so bad, bitch, I'll do this too. And that's why she's choking people out. But that's getting her off her spot, you know?
Yeah.
But that's me. And yeah, hopefully they don't turn her babyface because I don't want that. She's a natural heel.
My last shake is who's Jordan Grace going to pick. So not going to spend too much time on this because we kind of talked about it when we talked about Vengeance Day. But there was a 6-man or a 6-woman tag match: Jordan Grace, Julia, Stephanie versus Fallon Henley, and I forget her teammates' names in that. So
JC Jane.
JC Jane and Fatal Influence. Who is the other person in Fatal?
I forget the last
Jasmine
one.
Nix.
Jasmine Nix. There we go.
So, yeah, I mean, 3 super powerful, tough women on one side, with 2 of them being women's NXT champion and then women's North American champion. And then you got Jordan Grace, who just debuted. Yeah, Fatal Influence, you had no goddamn chance as soon as the match was made. Fine, perfectly fine. We get it. This is the spotlight. I just like the stare down at the end between, Jordan Grace standing in the middle, basically looking to decide between whether it's going to be Stephanie or Julia that she goes after. So, we already kind of talked about it before, possibly me kind of fantasy booking. Maybe both titles are on the line.
Yeah.
And,
like 2 out of
stand and deliver and stuff like that. But, I'm intrigued by what happens with this storyline. So right now it's in shake, but I think it's going to work its way up my scale in the coming weeks, hopefully.
Yeah. And seeing this, I mean, it doesn't obviously, like when you see that booking, obviously the faces are going to go over this. You're just talking about too much gold and too much charisma on that side of the ring. You know what I mean? But if anything, I take out of it also that it's like, okay, I understand putting Jordan Grace straight into the title picture, whichever one she chooses. I just think it solidifies more so because I just think about, the NXT women's division in total, which is, I don't think if you're a real wrestling fan, I don't think there's too much of an argument. It's the best women's division in the world right now is NXT women's. But I feel like they're really leaning into Sol Ruka and Zarya. I'm just like, they're just going to be a team now, aren't they? Because I feel like Zarya should also be in that, or them individually, like Zarya should be in that like North American title picture. So should Sol Ruka, because Sol Ruka was getting over, halfway through last year once everybody saw the Soul Snatcher, or last year, whenever that was. We was like, oh shit. But we haven't heard either one of them talk. Still, that's the thing. They don't talk. So it's just kind of upsetting that way. I don't know. I'm just connecting the pieces of the women division. I know it's not about them. We're talking about Jordan Grace, but I'm just like, dang, they're really going to be a team now, aren't they?
Maybe there's a Grayson Waller Austin Theory situation with Zarya and Sol Ruka. Because I can see at a certain point where Zarya turns on Sol Ruka. Maybe they both come out to confront Julia or whoever the NXT Women's Champion is. And, you know, kind of similar to what we had with Obafemi and Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. It's like, hey, that's going to have the fraction. That's going to cause a full fraction between Zarya and Sol Ruka. So the point where it's like, all right, now they're fighting to determine who's going to be the number one contender.
Yeah.
So, I think they
get the storyline over.
I don't have a problem with them being a tag team because I do think there's potential, but I prefer them, to your point, as singles competitors. Yeah. But I think that's it for the bodega.
Yep, for sure.
Let's move over to this coffee shop of AEW and Friends, because there are some other topics that happen. Impact was live this week, I think, for the first time.
In a while. Now, they had a live pay-per-view also somewhat recently.
I know their pay-per-views are live, but I think for their television show, I don't know if this is going to be on a weekly reoccurring basis, but it seems like Impact is going to be live. But maybe that was just for this week, but that'd be dope if it was moving forward going to be a live show. Then we will literally have, I mean, it already happens, but with it being pre-taped, really not the exact same. But if they are live, then we literally have wrestling Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
With the occasional Saturday, Sunday. So that's wild that there's actually 5 to 7 days of wrestling every day. Let's start off with Dynamite.
My glazing continues. I loved her promo. Tony Storm just coming out there for the promo. I thought it was a primo promo. Just the bar of her leaning into what we say every week of like, and then I hit you with the most devastating maneuver, the small package, but I just used my big package and railed you with it or some shit like that. It was just like, yes, give me all of that like adult comedy that she's always doing, slapping tits off and all that good stuff. So, and also, not for nothing, this is also a primo, just because she's quite clearly turning the page fully on Mariah May, and basically put out an open challenge, which at that point in time, I did expect for somebody to come out just because you did that. So I'm like, okay, we gotta get something right now. I'm not mad at it, but I just thought it would be like a clear, you know what I'm saying, person to come out, whoever that would be. Yeah. But that's the only thing that this was missing. But I love Tony Storm, and that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah. No, I have no problem with this. I have this as mid-rising, again, kind of like, on that Mexico, United States border, blue streak border, of making itself into primo. Again, this is one of those things where the reason I have it in mid is not so much the segment, it's just more so I'm looking forward to see what comes next. If I had to grade it on a promo itself, it's probably the best thing that I think they had on the show, or one of the best things that they had on the show. I'm more curious to see what plays out. So this is me just, the anticipation is there. I'm curious to see what that anticipation leads to. So that's why I got it in mid-rise.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, oh man, I can't believe I forgot to put Ricochet up here too. I was looking at yours, but yeah, Ricochet's on there for the bids. But as much as like, we put over like the wrestling on AEW, the in-ring stuff, this was all promo heavy. The best stuff on this show is all promos. I mean, in my opinion, granted. Because my other primo is the MJF and Hangman promo and match declaration for Revolution, which this was electric. This is like the kind of feuds that you actually want to see in AEW. And it's like, these are the promos. Like, this is where MJF's shtick is not worn out, because you're not using it against like Jeff Jarrett or somebody who I don't give a fuck about him like talking about. You know what I'm saying? But when you can pull directly from your history, and he's mentioning like, there's so many, let me look at this Bleacher Report article. Yeah, them mentioning like how, the very first match in AEW history was Hangman Page in the Casino Battle Gauntlet winning that opportunity. And MJF, because there's multiple people in it, but MJF takes it personally. He says, "You beat me in that match." You know what I'm saying? When we don't even know, or me at that point, I don't even know who MJF is. You know what I'm saying? It took MJF a while before they put the mic in his hands, and he became the MJF that we knew. And also the fact that like it was interesting to me that the crowd was completely on Hangman's side. And what was great is even mentioning that, I thought that was a great point of like Hangman, or excuse me, MJF being like, "Oh, well, what do you have that I don't?" And he's like, "I'm real. That's why they, fuck with me," because it was in context of the crowd. And I'm like, this is great because it's bringing up that same point of context with Will Ospreay, the last like real storyline he had over the international championship, when he let the truth slip out and he was like, everything was fine until like you showed up and ruined it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he has these exact same feelings towards Hangman, because now the whole crowd is on Hangman's side and he's letting those barbs fly. And everything Hangman has done is justified. It's cool because he's doing a slow burn face turn. He's clearly working face in this rivalry, but it's not like he's been a great coworker in recent memory, So, but this is the type of stuff we want to see, and this is going to be a great rivalry. I can't wait for this match, and this was electric.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I saw the promo. It was cool. I don't have as much like the historical context as like you or others may have on this, so like maybe some things went over my head. But just kind of grading it by itself, I would probably, if I had it anywhere, I'd probably put this at mid rising because I'm intrigued. I will say, and this is not necessarily on them. I guess there's some of it is on them, but it's also just an AEW thing with me. It's a little one note. I guess everybody, again, I've said this before, but everybody just seems on edge all the time. No pun intended. But like, even when we get into like the Cope and Death Riders situation, it's just like everybody is just always on a 10, just ready to like explode. Or even like MJF just like spitting on someone. I'm like, bruh, like, we get it. You're an asshole. Like, some of it is it did feel there's a little bit of monotony with some of these characters, or redundancy with like some of the characters emotions. So
yeah,
I
like
just
being
wish
like
there was
so serious and stuff. Like, I guess I get what you're saying, like them being like not just taking things seriously, but like, yeah, in the classic sense of a wrestler, like yelling into the mic and being like super intense all the time. Yeah,
it's just like,
I see what you're saying.
Like I just wanted a little bit more dynamics. Like both Hangman and MJF are like, Hangman again always super pissed off, super blah blah blah, and it's just like, all right, cool. John Moxley super pissed off, always, oh, I'm a lunatic friend, like, okay, cool. MJF, you'd say asshole things and you spit on people. It's like, we get it, but where's the nuance? You know what I'm saying? Like, switch it up a little bit. Like, work yourself up to that. Don't just come out here just, I'm like, bro, what is this, the 80s?
I think there's some grace for MJF because we know MJF is comedy galore also. It's just like he's in his blood is boiling in this feud. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like last week
his
we didn't
blood
have
is boiling all the time. Like
when you're getting to building a real one, building a real rivalry, yeah. I mean, that's what you do, like, because you take it seriously, but it's not like he doesn't like make fun of people and stuff like that also. But like, whenever I agree 1,000% that when you're talking about like MJF with insert actual serious wrestler right now, whether it's Will Ospreay, Hangman Page, whoever, like serious storyline booking, it is this MJF is one note in that sense of like his intensity for sure. Like, and I think he's probably the biggest culprit.
I mean, he did it to Jeff Jarrett. More than anybody. He did it to Dustin Rhodes. It's like,
that's it. He's more one note than anybody else when it comes to like building this stuff. But it's like you want to see him.
John Moxley is one note.
I just think you ain't fucking with the storyline because he hasn't been one note when you got like the friendship with Eddie Kingston and you got the nuance with that storyline and stuff like that from 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It's just Death Riders is clouding your memory right now.
It's the same shit you've been doing since WWE, bro.
Okay.
John Moxley and Dean Ambrose are like the same person. Literally, I mean, obviously they're the same person, but they're the same character.
Quite literally, yeah.
They're the same character. But again, that's me. That's me. I'm not disagreeing with you saying that it's good or bad. I'm just again, I look forward to it. I just wish there was a little bit more variance and or just again, not everything needs to be foot on the gas all the way down to like the pedal doesn't need to be on the floor all the fucking time for everybody.
Especially when this isn't, the go home show, because that's really what it is. Because we still got 2 more weeks until Revolution. That's not until March 9th. So that's where it's like also a misfire because we got the face to face now. So it's like, are we going to have this again? I would hope not, because now you done said everything that you really need to say at this point. So it should just be fisticuffs from this point on. But usually, yeah, you would save this for the last bit because we know it's going to be intensity physically until Revolution. So yeah. You got to start off with Ricochet as a mid because I forgot to even put that up here, and that is a disgrace by me because I love this segment.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot this week where I have like mid rising, but again, just right on the border. They're right on the border from getting into primo. And again, this is the reason I don't put it because I feel like the anticipation. I don't want to overshoot myself because I feel like if I put this on primo, then I'm like next week I'm like, oh no, that's also primo. And not saying you can't have back-to-back primos. I'm just trying to like, make sure that like I fulfill the anticipation that I have in me. And Ricochet is probably doing some of the best work that he's done within the last 5 to 10 years. And I thought, like I said, when he had the robe on the first time, I'm like, hey, the robe don't look too bad on you, bruh. And hearing Nana come out and being very serious and trying to like be like level with him and whatnot. Again, this is the nuance that I kind of wish that we had in this because there's moments in this rivalry between Ricochet and Swerve that you've kind of got up to real high moments where they're at each other's necks. And then you get into a moment like this where Nana is like, bruh, like, let's be on the real. Let me get my joint back. And then Ricochet comes back and is like, nah, you're not getting this. The laugh still doesn't work for me. But I guess that's the same. It's no different than Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints doing the MJ pose. Like, like I get it. It works for me in a sense where I can like it and laugh at it. But when he does it in such a serious moment, it kind of takes away from it a little bit.
Yeah.
But overall, this is the kind of variance in promo skills that I wish the rest of the show had. So shout out to Nana. And they did this without Swerve. This is just Nana and Ricochet cutting this joint. So shout out to both of them to continue to push probably one of the better probably my favorite storyline on AEW at this current moment.
Yeah, I'm dropping the ball right now, but I went down this thread also. I did find it originally. But yeah, Nana is a former wrestler himself, like he said in the promo, he's been in this game 30 years. He was in WWE, as a jobber. Found one of his matches. His last match was in like 2000. He lost to Crash Holly on SmackDown.
Yeah.
and really like him talking about how that robe represents integrity and like, being like hard-willed and all that type of stuff. And I didn't bestow that honor upon you. Carried weight because after I do my research and like I'll do it in a bit, but he was part of Ring of Honor and there was one of the Ring of Honor Pure or I think he was either Ring of Honor Pure champion or Ring of Honor television champion back in like 2002. And he was his manager when he talked about making champions. This was the first champion he made. And homie passed away. No. Prince Nana was the manager for this new wrestler, like the same way that he is the manager for Swerve. Back in Ring of Honor, he was the manager for this guy, and that guy passed away. And that was the robe that he gave homie. That's the same robe that he gave Swerve. So that carries way more weight behind it when actually his history, and he's talking about his history. Like, you really violating me right now on some crazy shit.
I'll put that up for primo then. I didn't know that, so that gets a primo for me.
Yeah, and like I said, that was me doing a quick search, like just me going into his history and stuff, and I was just like, damn, that is wild. And there's a picture of it that I'll put in the notion jock of homie. But yeah, great promo. I love this rivalry, like you said, and this is the stuff that we would dream that he would get the chance to do on WWE, right? Because like, what are we gonna say that? Oh, he wasn't good on the mic, but it's like not like you haven't been putting the mic in his hand over here in AEW. Granted, this is years later and stuff like that, but practice makes perfect, right? Give somebody a chance and they can improve. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he was just CM Punk the first time that he came out here.
He's
still
also
has, like-
working with a less cliche character. Because
True.
when your whole thing you're coming out, it's like, oh, he's a human, he's a real life
Oh, yeah.
superhero and type of
human
shit like
highlight
that. It's,
reel. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you're not giving him much to work with. Here, there's at least a bit of nuance to his character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna say WWE dropped the ball, but this goes back to our point where like sometimes you gotta let people talk.
Exactly. Let
Or
them
you're gonna end up
take
with
their licks.
Lyra's, you're gonna end up with people, or you're gonna end up with Caden and Casey, you know what I'm saying? Not being able to talk. Like you gotta let some people talk. You gotta let AOP talk.
Yeah. Jimmy Rave, that was homie's name. He was the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, and he passed away in 2021. But yeah.
Sucks. Anything else on Ricochet and Nana?
Nah, great stuff. Great stuff. Like I said, all the best. Crazy enough, all the best stuff on here was straight up the promos. Like for me, it was just all the storytelling aspects. So we can continue with like not, whole episodes like this because, like you even said earlier, nobody wants to go 35 minutes of a wrestling show and not see wrestling. So just it's all about the timing. But it's like this was all of this stuff was dense. All these promos, it was great stuff.
Well, let's get into our first wrestling match that we could talk about that we agreed upon as a mid. Powerhouse Hobbs beating Big Bill in a street fight.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was great action, great, especially with like two big guys. You don't really expect them to always kind of like take the most extreme approach to these matches. But there was some gnarly stuff, choke slams on the steel steps and then going through tables with barbed wire and things of that nature. How do you feel about those street fight ending with a technical knockout? I mean, you called it a technical knockout. I called that just a ref stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, because I just did that by either way. I think of them as the same thing, just because clearly that was like last man standing kind of rules that they were doing right there.
Yeah, when
they say it was a street fight, so that was just I don't want to call that a hiccup. That was like I'll say,
it's not as bad as the ref calling a Hell in a Cell match, but
yeah, but it's still because at that point,
when you like if you get into a street fight, I was like, there's no stoppage unless Big Bill had somebody just throwing the white flag for him, like fine, but I'm gonna need you to finish that off next time. But nonetheless, I thought it was still a great match.
Yeah, and I really like the fact I don't like the fact, but just to agree with you, because you would think at that point in time, like he's caught in the barbed wire, which I do like that ending. The fact that he couldn't get up was just like, oh shit, like I'm in razor wire right now. This shit hurts because he was awake and conscious. So it's not like last man standing, he was knocked out. He was just like, this sucks and I can't get up. Yeah. So for that story note, I'm like, that's cool. Because you have to be conscious and deal with the fact that I beat the shit out of you. You broke my nose last week. And now you're picking fucking pieces of metal out of your body. But to agree with you, just go over and put your foot on his chest at this point. And then count the 1, 2, 3, do the Chris Jericho, come on, baby, like that old pose. And but yeah, good match. I like that beef rivalry has worked. That's been the best part of like, it's so funny because I want to say this is like the learning tree, obviously, because he is part of the learning tree. But this has been the best part of by proxy, the learning tree. It has been this rivalry of Big Bill and Powerhouse Hobbs. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, best stuff. Down to the shake, a lot of shake to get to.
Yeah, we'll finish off the AEW shake first. I'll be quick with mine. Orange Cassidy over Roderick Strong. Great match. Just from like an in-ring perspective, as I was reading up on the Bleacher Report article on this match, they gave it a C. And as I was reading, their explanation was that like while the match was great, actually they gave it a B-. But they were like, wow, this match was great. It said the problem was a lack of storytelling consistency. Strong has focused so much on the trio's action with the Undisputed Kingdom, while Freshly Squeezed was off television. Even the reference to the conglomeration felt outdated, as the group have looked to been more quietly written off TV until this match in 2025. And so again, with that, it's like, okay, I can understand that, but again, if I'm just grading the match itself, I'm like, yo, this is why I fucks with Orange Cassidy. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And it was dope. And then they had the moment where they were hugging and things of that nature. Because again, whatever historical connections that they've had with each other. Yeah, I mean, again, from an in-ring quality standpoint, this was really good. This was really good work by both Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. So no, not that much hate from me. But I can understand for people that are tied into it why they might have felt a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, I really like, if anything, like you said, the in-ring aspect of it, where I'm like, I really feel like they got over Roddy's gimmick. He's had this gimmick forever of like he's the messiah of the backbreaker, and he got every bit of every single backbreaker like in that match. I'm like, okay, finally, because like when he first came to NXT, and like he has actually like one of my favorite like finishers that I've never seen anybody else use, which is the end of Heartache. It's that snap release suplex into like the double knees on the back, like your back falls into his knees.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like really concerned that OC was gonna lose this, honestly. From a name recognition standpoint, you're like, there's no way that Orange Cassidy is losing this. But from an in-ring aspect, I was like, okay, this can happen right now, so I felt like it did a lot for, actually, yeah, maybe I'm gassing it a little bit, but yeah, it did a little work for Roddy, at least as far as like, I don't want to say redeeming his character, but like making us care about him some more. You know what I'm saying? Because he still did lose this, but keeping him relevant in our heads. My last shake for AEW is Megan Bayne going over Chris Statlander, which I love this. I love the look of the Megasis. Like, that's a great fucking name. It just obviously invokes the Glamazon. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's even bigger than Beth Phoenix, but with that, straight up, I would be like, okay, I'm glad that Megan Bayne got this, because she is new on our screens and she needs to be taken seriously. So for this matchup, for her to go over Chris Statlander, I'm at least glad that they protected her with, this rivalry of Penelope Ford coming down and pushing her off the turnbuckle and interfering. And that's what gives, Megan Bayne the chance to get the F5 off and get that pin. So, man, high impact stuff. Like her spear, like not quite Braun Breaker level, but I would say definitely like a better spear than Charlotte. A better spear than Charlotte for sure. So I'm trying to think of women's spears.
And I was like, if I had to say spears, there was a terrible spear this week by Jey Uso. Not Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso.
Jimmy, yeah. Yeah.
God damn, Jimmy, that's almost as bad as Edge.
Yeah, almost, yeah. But yeah, that was a good match. I'm glad Megan Bayne went over. Also here in the coffee shop, this is just on a different shelf, TNA. Two things worth mentioning for sure. I thought was more impressive was Elijah, the former Elias, making his debut on TNA with his old, drifter gimmick, just strum of the strings and come down for a Joe Hendry concert.
That's a champion of the week for me.
Yeah. And well, we're even then. That's good.
Yeah.
We both appeal to other things, but to just remind me that the Colognes are still in TNA, I'm like, oh shit. They come down. And I'm like, yo, look at Primo and Homie. Like, that's crazy. But this was scratched on all the nostalgia for me, because, like, once again, best authority figure in all of wrestling is Santino Marella. Of authority, and I'm gonna make a 2 versus 2 tonight. I like that. You like that? I like that. Yeah. So that was a great segment.
What does he call it? A scorpion? When he used to like do his finishing move.
Oh, the Cobra.
Yeah. Like, wow. I was like, oh snap! You're done.
Elimination Chamber. Yeah. We all believe for a half second he was about to win an Elimination Chamber, bro. Like he was about to pin Daniel Bryan and become champion for a split second. Like I have that's actually that's gotta be one of my top 5 favorite goddamn near calls like of my entire life. Like holy shit. Like I want to believe so bad. And the other thing on TNA worth mentioning. I mean, no offense to TNA, all of it's worth mentioning, but just this is our show. We talk about what we want to watch and what we took from it. Obafemi showing up and squaring up against the system. You know, Moose in the system, like his faction over there. Which
and then him getting
really
Hardy Boys back up.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the because the system, you know, JDC and the faction, they all come down and they're beating the shit out of wait, no, who was it?
The Hardys.
This was after the match. Yeah, the Hardys. And then you get the reinforcements of Obafemi and somebody else showed up too. I forget. But because the system is 4 guys. It's 4 guys and a girl. So either way, I just love the job that like Moose is obviously he's doing his job. He's a professional.
Yeah, it was
like,
JDC versus I forget who exactly, but it was a black man. I forget his name.
Yeah.
I say Dante something, but I forget. Oh, sorry, cut you off. Go ahead.
That's fine. No, you're helping me out. But either way, I just want to point out that I was like, of course, Moose is a professional, and him selling the fear of Obafemi, I thought was great. It reminded me of like Brock Lesnar, you know, selling the fear of Cain Velasquez.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciated that. And that's also where I'm like,
Leon Slater.
Because he's not winning. Yeah, Leon Slater. I was like, he's not going to fucking win this. Like, he's not winning the NXT championship. Like, why do we have to make this match? But those were the highlights. Love that TNA stuff. So that was the last bit for me right there.
Coffee shop was fun this week. All right.
Boy, we dragged an ass.
Got about 30 minutes at least. So let's see if we can let's see if we can run through some of this stuff. Book of Wrestling. I'll quickly play this music. My cup up. We got 2 actual dated topics here, and then the third one. I'm not sure when the date happened on that, but that's an interesting one in itself. I'll start off with the older one here.
Mm-hmm.
February 20th, 2005. Batista turns face on Triple H. On Monday Night Raw, Royal Rumble winner Batista made his choice on who to face at WrestleMania with his main event title shot. He chose Evolution stablemate Triple H, concluding one of the greatest face turn angles in wrestling history. That seems hyperbolic.
Long-term storytelling, but bringing back the thumbs down is hard as shit.
Yeah,
that's hard.
No, for sure. But the greatest heel face turns ever in wrestling history, that is wild.
I think so, for sure. Because you think about heel turns more so than anything. We remember like the backstabbing. You know what I'm saying? A face turn is like, to be impactful as a face is hard. You know what I'm saying? That's like Reign of Terror, you know, Triple H right there, Evolution and all that stuff. Like he was ready, like, no, square up. I'm just as big as you. I'm gonna take you down, and he did.
Yeah, I guess for me, I hold the ruthless aggression era. I don't hold it in high regards relative to like most people, especially the Evolution stuff. I'm like, Evolution was cool, but man, like living in it during the time, that shit was like, yo, get this shit off my screen, bro.
Yeah, right.
Triple H always winning. You know, Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Randy Orton is like, who is this dude that is just all of a sudden like now? Obviously, Randy is a fucking legend. And again, Batista is like, why is Ric Flair still around?
Yeah, like, to be tag team champion.
Like it nostalgia gives Evolution a bit of a higher ranking than actually living in the moment. That shit was not fun.
But even in looking back on it, nostalgia now, you're like, damn, that is a fucking lineup of legends. Though.
It's a lineup. It's a lineup. But in the time, it was like, yo, I don't fuck with Randy.
Oh, of course. Just think like, you think about 2K all-time teams. Like if you could just have all-time Evolution, like prime every single one of them, you're like, dog, you ain't fucking with that. Prime Ric Flair. Like, anyway. The other entrant in the Book of Wrestling, or the second one, is one of my favorite moments ever. the prodigal son returning on this date, 2016, on an episode of Raw in Detroit, Michigan. Shane McMahon returned to WWE for the first time since 2009, 7-year gap. The return was met with a huge ovation, with Shane coming back in storyline terms to take control of WWE from his father. The segment ended with Vince offering Shane control and possession of a mystery lockbox if he could beat Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 32. When you think about, like, Spirit, you can be like my benefactor if you beat the Phenom in like the most dangerous match in his like undefeated streak. Like, it is so ridiculous. But just for a moment, for me to be like watching Raw and not knowing something, honestly, and just hearing music,
Here
that's
comes
one of
the
the
money.
greatest.
Here we go.
That's one of the greatest, like, for me, like him coming out there. I remember that with the Jordan ones on. I remember that so vividly. Like Vince going in for the hug, and he's like, then he fixes his like lapel on his jacket, like, bam. And then he did all that.
It's funny because like I feel like I have this the entrance of Shane and Undertaker coming in for that Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. I cannot have told you that there was a possession of a mysterious lockbox. I have no recollection of that.
I don't remember that at all either. Like, that was so convoluted. I just remember two things about Shane coming back. I remember him coming back, and I remember him losing to Undertaker. That's it. Well, and I also remember him trying to get the Underground match off when it was still fucked up on Raw Underground, and it had like 60 women.
Yeah, that was like pandemic era. That was like 4 years later, though.
Yeah, that was later, but yeah, that's like everything I remember about Shane's return. But
and now he's sitting, and him, Stephanie, Triple H are all in DC, just watching Linda McMahon get confirmed as fucking Department of
Secretary
Education.
of Education. Secretary of Education.
Again, the Secretary of Education. She might not even have a job in like fucking 3 months.
This I don't know. This ain't the show for that. But either way.
No, but either way.
Entrance. I think also just with these segments I think this should just be Book of Wrestling. These are just match entrances into the Book of Wrestling. These are like, it's like Library of Congress. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're just filing it in there. So just for simplification going forward, these will just be Book of Wrestling match entries going forward.
Part of it.
Yeah. I know I said like, I don't know, something indie corner or something beforehand last time. But what I got this time for you, you said you were halfway through. I don't know if you didn't finish all of it, but the peak performance art, this is why we need indies. GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, has this match of the Invisible Man, the face of this match, versus the Invisible Stan. And as I was saying to you before, Pod, it's like, this is like the definition, this clip right here, this match, air quote match, is the definition of why people be like, oh yeah, you're a wrestling fan, you ain't never getting no pussy. Like, this is what people think of. Like, you're a loser, you're sweaty, fat, like you're just adjacent to like World of Warcraft, sweaty basement guys, not treating their acne, and like incels. You know what I'm saying? We're like 2 steps above incels if you're at this match, basically. But the performance art here, I need to look up the ref's name because obviously this is just this one man putting on the performance of a lifetime, and just everybody in the crowd, people like us, are just in on the joke, which is that Invisible Man was backstabbed by his homie, the Invisible Stan. There's nothing else you need to know. But may I point out the 2 absolute highlights of this match that I know you didn't get to at this point are they basically do like a Shane McMahon dive spot where they're jump off, allegedly, Invisible Man and Stan, they jump off like the second like balcony into the crowd. And
that was the opening clip before the video started. They showed that on the opening clip, and I'm like, I didn't understand what I was watching. So I'm like, did I miss something? And
the finish is honestly, I'll keep that a mystery for you because yes, it's ridiculous. This is an 11 out of 10. Like, what the fuck am I watching? And I would never tell any woman I watch this or I'm into this kind of stuff. This is like the dark corners of porn or something. Like, you would never, like, you get into like BDSM. This is the dark corners of like wrestling fandom. Like, gets you all the way here. and you can enjoy shit like this, like myself. But
I knew this was, like I said, I was halfway through this match before we started the show, and I was like, I knew this was a stupid match when like immediately they had the back and forth pinfalls happening, and he did it like 5 times, and I'm like, bro, this shit's stupid. I was like, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm like, bro, this is stupid. This is stupid.
Hey, but like I said, if anything, that's the best ref performance of all time because refs are never engaged like that. So it's like literally that match is just completely that one guy giving you everything he's got. And I'm gonna look up his name, but he's dope, and that definitely deserves to be in the Book of Wrestling. And that's it for the Book of Wrestling.
Because how many times are we gonna get? We're never getting an invisible person versus an. I mean, the closest thing we got to an invisible person is what was it? Shawn Michaels and Jesus. Versus Shane and
God
Vince
or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, a double invisible match. I was like, this is. I get it. I can laugh at it. Stupid as hell. Still stupid as hell. This only thing you can do. That's that. You can only do that in independent circles because that shit ain't working on live TV.
There's not one woman within 5 miles of that place. Not one. Like I guarantee it, dog. Like it's crazy.
They probably all in the concessions, just like, grabbing drinks or, doing other shit. It's like, okay, this is our bathroom break.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's move over. You got a current event.
Yeah. Carmella's WWE contract expires. And I put this on here because we had talked about recently that, like, we haven't seen Carmella in a while. Wouldn't be surprised because, like she was a mother. She just became a mother, about a year ago, probably on maternity leave. Apparently, I also read that she had drop foot, which I didn't take the chance to look that up. And so I don't know exactly what it is. So I'm not going to speculate. But her contract was not renewed. There was also news that came out that Sonya Deville, or formerly Sonya Deville, she was on a podcast with, I think, her significant other. And she had mentioned that she was in the middle of renewing her contract with WWE, and then she just got a phone call and they would just told her like, oh yeah, we're not renewing your contract. And it's
who is this you just mentioned? I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Sonya Deville.
Sonya, okay.
Yeah, she said she was in the middle of renewing her contract, and then all of a sudden they were like, yeah, we're not renewing it. So she said she was completely caught off guard. And then this also kind of ties into what I had mentioned earlier, that there was talk coming out that the women are unhappy with the booking that is happening in WWE, feeling like they're not getting enough time or, enough opportunities to kind of showcase their stuff. I think there was something about a women's title not being on a PLE on a pop-up show for like months at this point now. It's almost like 6 months, I want to say. So a lot of things within the women's division that obviously we've talked about, saying that you got to give these people opportunities. They can't just be held up for others. But yeah, a lot of things are changing. Again, also another thing that we've talked about is that with all this stuff, you have NXT, you have Evolve, you have WWID. How long of a time span do you have until you get kind of cycled out? Because like, as much as I like Carmella, I think she's entertaining and she's fun. It's like when she comes back, where does she fit in this card now? Because when she left, the card wasn't the women's division what it is right now, and then you still got people like Roxanne and others that are going to be coming up. That I'm like, where does Carmella fit into this? So, not to say specifically Carmella, but just in general, it is interesting to see. It's going to be a curious position to see how WWE improves upon their women's division, especially with them being, it seems like there is some vocalness coming out from the women's that they are unhappy with how they're being treated on their card.
I mean, that ain't nothing new, right? We've heard that for a very long time. That's always like a up and down roller coaster, like one of the main problems that we consistently point out with WWE. You know what I mean? So they got no problem, booking Cody and back-to-back Royal Rumbles and back-to-back Manias. But like when it comes to long-term booking for women, it's like, a year is probably the longest you get. And that's like best case scenario. You know what I'm saying? So as far as like, women not having enough time, yeah, we agree. Like that ain't it's like Michael Cole saying, that we're sports entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Or we're storytelling. Women need the time to tell their stories also. So it's upsetting, but I mean, like you said, it's a business, and like that's where like the rubber meets the road. It's just like kind of shitty when you're like, the last time we saw her, she left because she was on maternity leave, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like she hasn't come back, and we don't know, the behind the scenes and stuff. But Alexa Bliss was out for how long?
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years, like however long that was. So yeah, we'll root for you, Carmella. TNA feels right to me.
I don't even think she needs wrestling, honestly. I mean, if she wants to
doesn't need
continue
to,
wrestling, sure, but like she can easily get into any other kind of the entertainment side of it.
Yeah, sure.
I will say
foot drop also is a condition where the foot is unable to lift properly, causing the toes to drag or slap against the ground while walking.
There
you go.
Okay. I will say maybe this is WWE trying to follow with this bullshit ass president's push against DEI policies.
Possibility. I mean that's
because
you know
what's funny? Right? You know what's the funny thing? Because like seeing that conversation pop up, they're like, "Oh, Sean knows what to do. Look at the women's division in NXT. This, that, and the third." And I'm like, "Niggas, y'all was saying the same shit when Triple H was running goddamn NXT and Vince was running the main show. Y'all were saying the same shit. And guess what happens? Triple H runs the fucking main show, and he ain't doing the shit that he was doing in NXT." The women ain't got no much more respect under his control on the main roster than they did when they were in NXT. And now you're like, oh, we need to give Sean the power to run the women's division. He's going to do the same shit. He's going to do the same shit. I'm tired of all this shit. Like we look at these guys like as gods, like, oh, Sean knows what he's doing. He's just going to get the next fat ass to come to NXT. Sure, right? Y'all just want to give these niggas cookouts to every fucking goddamn thing. Like I'm like the revisionist history to not be like, yeah, Triple H was literally Shawn Michaels when he was running NXT. And then y'all wanted him to come up to NXT to be on the main roster and do the main roster booking and thinking that the women's division was going to get better. Has it gotten better? A fraction.
Let's say what's the longest, because we're talking about stories, right? So it's like, what's the longest book story that we got?
Character development, yeah.
What's the longest one that we got? Is what I'd say Bailey and Damage Control. Bailey winning the title off of EO. I mean, that was like, I feel like that caught on like road to WrestleMania time, where that wasn't even like long-term booking. That was just like 4 months, I feel like. You know
at
what I'm saying?
Most, yeah. The most you probably get with a women's storyline is 6 months.
I would say
probably they probably fall in line 3 months, I would say, as a women's storyline.
Yeah, 3 to 4 months is average for a women's like serious storyline. Because even like our favorite thing this year, like Nia winning the title and then like Tiffany clearly betraying her. We knew that was coming the second she won Money in the Bank. So that was like, I don't know how long she held on to that for 6 months, but that's kind of like Money in the Bank is a special case because the Money in the Bank is basically a storyline built into a prop, basically. So, yeah, they got some work to do with, and even like the best, arguably in-ring rivalry that they've ever had, I think is mostly just in-ring, which is Sasha and Charlotte. And right now that would be Rhea Charlotte. And Charlotte is like, I'm going to go after Tiffany. So, you know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of like actual storylines there.
I just hate that.
That's what they
there's
need.
There's this look at WWE as like, huh?
I said the Jade storyline. Hopefully we can nail that, and have us sink our teeth into that for like, 5-6 months and somebody turns heel or whatever. I don't know.
I just don't have faith in them. I don't have faith in them. Like, I really don't. Like, I think, like I said, like, I don't think that Jade, I don't think they had any sense of what to do with that storyline other than that they needed to write her off. And like I said, do I want Raquel and Liv to be the reason that Jade was out? Not really. Not really. That's a cop out in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, if you didn't know what the hell you was gonna do, you just needed to write her off of television. Yeah, you would do that. Like I don't think we're gonna get much coming out of that. in my opinion.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. That's all. Stay optimistic. We love these women in that, so hopefully they can do something right with them. But over on the boutique,
SmackDown.
super mid show, super mid as usual. We both we agreed on one thing, but yeah, I'll let you start off with your primo.
I won't even start with the primo. I'll start why this was super mid, and
Okay.
I'll start with the shake. Impromptu rock segment.
Yeah.
That ruined the entire show. And not saying the segment was that bad. The fact that this was less than 24 hours. He announced Thursday night, hey, I'm going to pull up to SmackDown on New Orleans. They had to switch up the entire card, or at least majority of the card.
Mm-hmm.
His niece or sister-in-law or whoever Naomi fits into the bloodline tree got her match taken off. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to, instead of having a tag team match, we're going to have a singles match. They didn't even have the singles match. It was just a brawl that didn't even get the match started. And then you have the Rock segment where it went on for close to maybe 20 minutes. He didn't say a goddamn thing. And if he did, like, actually, I won't say he didn't say a goddamn thing, but the way he said it was the most convoluted, time-wasting approach.
Oh yeah, it was very clear that
just
this was
to say that I want you to be my champion. I want your soul. Fine, if that's what you wanted to say, nigga, give me. If I'm Triple H, nigga, give me goddamn at least 48 hours.
Oh, to prep
give me
for
a week.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Like, and he doesn't really have much leeway because again, he's a TKO board member. But like, come on, bruh.
Yeah.
Come on. You didn't need to. Was that really necessary? And then to have a press conference afterwards, which I haven't watched yet because like I don't really care at that point. That was a waste of a segment. That again, if I think that was so much ad-libbing, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. What are we gonna get out of it?
I'm really enjoying your grandstanding because this was me seeing this in your shake made me put this there because I realized what was happening, right? Like, because I have this in Primo, or not this specifically, but like, as you said, the fact that it's an impromptu rock segment, and I was about to have it in Reggie for that exact same case, but you made more of a, I didn't even think about, like obviously the production, how you got to shift the stuff around. I didn't even think about that stuff. But like, for me, it was like, all right, this was a giant nothing burger of a segment for, 24 minutes, including entrances and all that shit. And like you said, for the punctuation to be like, I want your soul, I'm like, all right, cool. But so that's the negative side, right? The positive side, why I have this in Primo, or because this is my interpretation, or where I think it's going, I guess my booking, right? To me, that translates to corporate Cody. Like the same way we had the corporate Rock, you know what I'm saying? And wouldn't that be a giant, circle of fucking, 360, you know what I mean? Synchronicity, whatever the fuck, because Rock making that exact same choice of turning heel and siding with, the boss. And if Cody, like we said, we have him turning heel, at least eventually, sometime soon. That's one hell of a way to do it. And I was like, shit, if he becomes corporate Cody, I mean, that's almost like what we've been booking already, how like everybody's not grateful about all the shit he does for the company. And, he's the one doing all the interviews and stuff like that. And he can just endear himself with the boss. And he's like, seen by him. And he's like, oh, this man got my back, yada, yada. But first impression, that's where I'm like, okay, that's, if anything, an interesting storyline. Once again, optimistic because we have no fucking clue what The Rock is going to do. But that's what I heard in my head when he's like, I want you to be my champion. Where I'm like, so that's like, I want you to do what I need you to do. You know what I'm saying? Or you need to do this shit because I control all this shit. And I'm completely
fine with that. You didn't give me 48 hours and we can fucking write the script out or at least give you bullet points to not waste 20 minutes. Because it's not only 20 minutes, it's like they don't even know how long this dude is going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just doing it.
That's why there's no match. That's why there was no match. Is because they're like, Rock, we can give you 15 to 20 minutes, but if this dude wants to go over 5 minutes, He's gonna go over 5 minutes. Who the hell's gonna stop him?
Exactly.
And that's where I'm like, that's bullshit. And maybe he has problems with Road Dogg because I believe this is Road Dogg's first week as co-writer of SmackDown. So maybe this was like a little like FU to him. I don't know. I'm speculating there. I don't even know if they had any problems. But to do this 24 hours, less than 24 hours before the show, which is pretty much already written, is bullshit. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, if that's all you wanted to come out, and if you wanted to have that segment, that could have been an easy 15-minute segment. But you strung it out because you didn't even know what you wanted to even say.
Yeah,
but if he was a little bit more concise into what he wanted to say and the reason he wanted to come out there, this is a mid.
Yeah, I think for sure. Like you can, us as fans, you can feel the time wasting of it. You know what I'm saying? So heavily, and like just putting over like literally the first basic like 8 minutes of the segment is entrances. The next 3 is, or no, the next 5 is him putting over Cody and like how they become friends. And then the last 7 or 8 feels like he's fumbling because he doesn't know where he's at on like the time clock or like how long he is. And he's just like stretching it out until to, I want your soul bar. Like clearly he thought that was gonna, which, that did get a reaction out of the crowd. But like when you're at home also, I mean, I think even if we were in the crowd, you would feel that like drag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm glad you put it up that way because that definitely deserves to be on the, at least recognized as such. Cause like I said, I had it in my thought process is Reggie, but you concisely hit it. That it's like I
would have had it at Reggie too, but like I said, if he didn't say that soul line, and I'm like, all right, then at least you love us with something. I don't know if that's going to pay off within this year's WrestleMania. I doubt it because you announced that WrestleMania 42 is going to be in New Orleans next year. So it's like, okay, we were in New Orleans last night. So is this all going to be leading up to WrestleMania 42? Like I guess you gave us something to chew on, which is why it's not in Reggie. But you're damn near close to being Reggie, bro.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. And like I said, if you're going to do that, who's Triple H to tell him a TKO board member? But it would be nice to be like 48 hours beforehand. Instead of just saying like, we need to fucking come up with a new, we need to come up with a new, we need to make space for Rock. And who's going to take the biting bullet? Your goddamn bloodline relative.
Yeah, that's enough on Rock. We'll figure out what that means later on. But your actual, that takes care of my Steak and Primo because they are one and the same. That's a very mid show for me. Primo for you?
Jacob and Tama. Not fucking with goddamn Solo. I like the entire thing from the moment that Solo arrived to the arena and, they had their confrontation backstage and Jacob was like, bruh, you ain't been here for a few weeks and I've been running SmackDown. And as long as you know that, then we ain't got no, like, I know it was an accident. He's like, I'm glad. Then, Solo was like, yeah, I'm glad we know it's an accident and it wasn't meant to happen, this, that, and a third. He like taps Tama Tonga on the chest, talking about like, I'm going to go talk to Nick Aldis. And then Tama just like looked at him and like, bro, I don't know who you smacking on the chest like that.
Yeah.
And then you get into the match. Jacob super kicks Solo and he didn't look like there was any remorse on that. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jacob versus Solo.
Yeah, that was that was a definite dramatic pause where his eyes focused. I think that's the right adjective for that. They just focused in on the fact that he did it. It wasn't remorseful, but he definitely, I don't know. He was calculating what that meant. That's sort of what I thought.
Yeah. It's either that or maybe he thought that Damian Priest or Braun Strowman was going to turn him around faster. And he was just waiting for them to kind of grab his shoulder. I don't know, but either way, I'm intrigued by this storyline and I'm getting hyped up for it.
Yeah. Hey, that's a dope storyline, and we just get like a new bloodline repositioning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just Jacob at the top, and you're just on SmackDown. That's fire. You know what I mean? So that'd be dope. Um, the mids that we agree on, I got this titled as the Street Profits better win the tag titles
Damn
after all
straight.
this.
Damn
They
straight.
better.
There's
They
no
look, this is the
reason that
best
you
thing
do
they've got.
all of that and end up losing to, I don't care, any one of those teams.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even the look that had, like, was so good. Like, they look so dominant. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't forget that Angelo Dawkins is a strong guy. Like, he's clearly a fucking strong guy. But him using the big ending, I was like, okay, interesting choice for your finisher. I mean, Big E's not here to use it, but that is a power move, you know. And honestly, I could probably say that might be the best frog splash Montez Ford has
I was
ever hit
going
in
to
his
say
life.
that
That's
is the best
probably
frog
the best
splash
one.
because the way he didn't do the RVD sell of the ribs and he just got up, I was like, let's go.
That was a heel, like, because it's hard to do that as a face, because you're like you said, they're always selling like the impact and with so much damage. But he ate that, and he's like, but you
and
feel
he
that
just stood right up. I was like, that's what you need. From now on, that's how you frog splash.
Exactly.
From now on, that's how you frog splash.
That's putting somebody in the ground for sure.
Yeah.
Because the only other aerial move I can think of, like super emphatic, like even on big guys, was like, you remember the Nexus, like when the Nexus came and they would like beat the shit out of everybody and they would hit all of their finishers, and then the last thing every time was Justin Gabriel's 450.
Yeah.
And he would even do like hold my stomach for a quick second. You know what I'm saying? Like intensely. But yeah, the way he popped up, and yeah, that was great. They better win these fucking titles, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like, I swear to God. Like, this, if they don't win the titles at Mania in this fatal 4-way ladder match that we got, this moves into permanent Reggie of like great.
I'm giving them the same thing that I say about Seth Rollins. Take your talents to goddamn New Japan. Just leave. Just leave. This is bullshit. Bianca got you WWE money. This is bullshit. If they don't end up getting the titles within the next 2 months, this is bullshit, and y'all just need to go to New Japan.
This would be the Mania win for them, because even as intense as they've been repackaged twice, bro, or not prepackaged, but start stop push twice with this whole heel thing and trying to put themselves over, and if not 3 times, because all the other teams there have held the titles except for Pretty Deadly, which I'm perfectly fine with. Street Profits getting it before Pretty Deadly. I don't have Pretty Deadly winning at Mania. You know what I'm saying? So Pretty Deadly can be the ones to beat them. But right now, that's got to be the booking, dog. After all of this, after we just saw that, or that might be a Saturday night main event. That might be because it's a TLC, That might be.
You got to put that on. You got to give them their WrestleMania. No, Street Profits, you got to give them their WrestleMania moment.
I would be sick of it. Wouldn't that rip the rug right from underneath them? It's like, oh yeah, you're gonna get the titles on Saturday night's main event. I'd be like, bro, what? Anyway,
let's move over to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's other stuff that happened on the show, but we ain't talking about it. So.
Yeah, it was like I said, the Rock segment fucked it up. The Rock segment fucked it up because again, like it took away time. Even that Street Profits stuff happened right after the Rock segment. Right? And so the only thing that probably got untouched, probably the Solo. Well, that was a 6-man tag originally that they took Cody out of. Right?
Okay.
So
yeah.
That got touched up a little bit. Like I said, Rock fucked the show up. And that's coming from a Rock fan. You got to give to at least 48 hours notice if you're going to do some bullshit like that. Unless, make sure what you want to say is concise. And you not just running and rambling just to ramble.
Because I'm sure he has like a storyline in his head right now, and he had like 2 punchlines he wanted to say, which he said, I want your soul and I want you to be my champion. Yeah. And everything else is just freestyle from there. Because, I would say the only other thing not touched is probably the Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax,
maybe
match they had. Yeah, that's about it. And and I skipped that because I'm going to give Nia grace on that Annihilator. Wasn't her best. So
I don't blame her. I'd rather her be safe. I mean, again, I think,
of course.
I think that was just I think first of all, I think Trish was.
She was too far back. She was too far back.
She was too far back, and I think she misjudged the distance from her jumping off the rope into falling down. Because if there's one person, you could like, all right, I can kind of fall down pretty easily. But when she's stacked up like that, and I'm like, especially where Trish's body was at, it was like I don't know what Nia could have done not to hurt Trish. So I have no problems with that. People that do have problems, they're just Nia haters. So looking to get on her. So either way, let's get to these champions of the week, and we'll close out the show. I'll start off on a lighter note. Well, these are all light, but on a happily positive note. The Enrique Iglesias, I can be a hero, baby, to Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page, man, he was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. You know, the DDP, the whole bang thing and everything with that. But over time, DDP outside of the ring has been great. He has this program called DDP Yoga or DDPY. I have used it, and it's helped me change my life and get into great shape. Others, like Scott Hall, have used it and other things of DDP's teachings to wind themselves off of alcoholism and drugism and get themselves back into better shape than that they were before.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, no good.
That was a laptop.
It's all good. And there's a series. I've only seen there's only been 2 episodes so far, but he is currently working with one of his great friends in the business, Lex Luger, who has been paralyzed from like the waist down. I forget for what reason exactly, but he has been working with him to regain his strength. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's this is only part 2, so it's still very early in their progress. But I mean, I'm telling you, that DDP yoga for anybody that needs to do it, whether to lose weight or just maintain a healthy lifestyle, it works. I am a living proof that it works. I used to be way heavier than I am right now, and it can work for all ages. And so to see something like this, where like Lex Luger, again, to think about the Lex Luger that we saw when we were kids in the 90s, like the whole fitness man and all that, to being like, this dude has lost all that muscle mass and is sitting in a wheelchair, probably maybe never did walk again, to now he's able to get him to walk again. Hell of impressive. And he's done it before with another person in the DDP yoga. There was like a 400-pound like military vet. He was like in the Marines. He like completely lost all his ability. Like he was like super fucking fat. He couldn't walk or anything like that. But then he just did DDP yoga, and then he's in the videos doing the exercises with you. Dude doesn't even look like the same person.
Of course, when you talk about 400 pounds, it's nuts.
It's crazy. This dude,
I've told
like
you over the
leg
years,
braces. He had to use the arm kind of walkers to like even walk. Now this dude is like flexible as a dime. You know what I'm saying?
And like I said before, over the years, I mean, we go back for years, so I'm proud of you too. I've said that to you, like, years ago. Yeah, you've lost an amazing amount of weight, and it does work. So,
I gotta give props. I always give props to DDP, man.
Very inspiring for sure. So if you got 2 and I got 1, I'm gonna go my champion of the week, which you hinted on earlier. This is the Dr. Umar Johnson. I said Black Queen forever, Snow Bunnies never. for Naomi and Bianca for their continued contributions to the cultural collection.
Yep.
Sorry, just to get a slight bit of audio here. As I said before, this is the Dr. Umar Johnson, Black Queens forever, whites or Snow Bunnies never.
Black Queens forever, Snow Bunnies never. I said Black Queens forever, Snow Bunnies never. I said Black Queens forever, Snow Bunnies never.
All right. And I said, as I explained, you hinted on half of it earlier, but Naomi, it goes to their outfits, you know, like I said, the Compton Clovers on Raw and then on SmackDown, paying homage to Queen Bee. You know, everything she does is glorious. So invoking Beachella, the hoodies, that they had the exact same ones as Beyonce, you know, some years ago when she was at Coachella putting on for like all the HBCUs and stuff. And just seeing Black queens inspired by other Black queens. And this is why we are biased. Because I know for a fact, like when I saw that, like when I saw them on Raw, I wanted to tell you this, like, but I was like, all right, this is immediately my champion of the week, so I got to keep it in the tuck. But I was like, I know Montez said, "Hey, keep that shit on." No, don't take that on. You know, we keep that on right after work.
Yeah,
we need for a fact. I know that's what happened. You know, because she even got the little gold slugs in. You know, they
I saw that too. I was like, okay.
Yeah, she letting, you know, Tez swag is dripping on her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Powerful, beautiful Black couple influencing each other. So love it.
But she also from Tennessee, man. She also from Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? You know, she probably, I don't know what part of Tennessee, but if she from Memphis, you know, she was 3-6ing.
Yeah, right. For a fact. But yeah, what you got? Who's your last champion?
My last champion, you mentioned it when we got to the coffee shop and was talking about TNA. But this is the Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends? Yup.
Yep.
To Joe Hendry and Elijah for the potential. I think we're definitely going to get a concert duet between them and their guitars. But I feel like we talked about this. Like, I could have sworn if we go back in the couple episodes in the past, we talked about this possibly happening. Of Elijah and Joe Hendry being like,
we go back like 20 episodes, I think. Like whenever we first saw Joe Hendry and I brought up him singing in the diss tracks and stuff, that's probably what it was.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this, but maybe that's just me just trying to give ourselves, you know, props. But nonetheless, they hear the, like you said, the strums of Elias or Elijah, and then like, bing. I was like, oh snap, let's go, let's go. Oh man, so I'm just super hyped for what might come out for that.
That was like one of my favorite, you know, just catchphrases too. Like, everybody knows WWE stands for walk. I used to love screaming that. Like, exactly, but now it's not. Modified it slightly.
Who wants to walk with Elijah? I was like, let's fucking go.
Same thing. It still gives me that chill right there. I love it. So
I love it too. So I'm excited for this, and I can't wait for the Elijah and Joe Hendry concert. Now, who turns on who? Probably Elijah.
I mean, Elijah, right? He just showed up and Joe just became champion. So, yeah. One of those guitars is getting cracked over somebody's head. Like, you know what I'm saying? This will actually be a great guitar on a pole match. This is where it actually makes sense. Like, if you were to do it.
That actually, you're right. That would make sense.
Yeah.
I will say Elijah's beard looked hilarious. I'm sure that's his natural beard, but he almost looks like an Amish like music singer with the way his beard comes across.
Yeah, as long as he shaves the mustache, he'll be 100% there. Like that's the thing. You got to shave the mustache and then just have all beard, and that's it. Because he even has the hat too. Because they be wearing those top hats, you know.
That's what I'm saying. He looks like an Amish singer. The way he kind of he looks on the top, but
an Amish singer that has only been like throwing bales of like hay over his head like all day. He looks bigger than. I mean, he was always a big guy, but good. He's healthy.
He in that gym.
He's I'm just saying he big. He in there clearly.
All right. Anything else from this week of wrestling, or are we ready to head home?
Yeah, we are ready to head home, except we got to remind our listeners and viewers to do all the engagement things and follow us on YouTube, this channel, at The Wrestling Re-Up, across all of our platforms. We're The Wrestling Re-Up, where we're going to be taking this constant stroll across the week of wrestling. That's at Twitch, email at thewrestlingreup@gmail.com, TikTok for as long as that lasts, and all other places, Blue Sky, all the good stuff.
Dope. And we will catch y'all next week with a pop-up show. WWE Elimination Chamber is the next week. So let's see if I can finally get one on the boards.
It's going to have to be a mercy kill. Well, I think we got a mercy kill this at Mania. Like, this is just abysmal.
Even if we mercy kill it, it doesn't stop you from getting another lead like this one. So
the total record, I will say, the total record will continue. But at least for this season, like I can't be looking at you with one win, bro. Like,
That's fine. I'm on my Wizards, man. This is rebuild. I'm on a rebuild season road, man. Come on now.
I don't know about that. You ain't
This is
building
rebuild,
shit right
man.
now.
I'm trying to get the first draft pick, and I'm trying to get the first draft pick. So
okay.
That's all that is. But until next time, we'll catch y'all for episode 34. Shaq number. But yeah, or Kareem.
Yeah.
Wait, you said Kareem was 33.
Yeah, but you changed numbers.
Did he get to 34?
Career.
Did he go to 34?
I just made that up.
Okay. Just lying already.
He's like, man, we keeping these viewers on here.
That's why we can't be a reliable source, because you just want to keep lying and shit.
Hey, I admit it, man. That was a joke. It's a joke, people. You can take us seriously.
I kid. I joke. All right, y'all. We're done. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.